Hey yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and today we are traveling back in time. And physicists are angry. That's what we're watching today. Where are we going to travel back to? What is going to make them angry? What are we going to see that potentially they don't want us to? Well, maybe today we will find out. It's time to lock in, and it is time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
You're going forward through time 1 second every second. Congratulations, you're a time traveler. A bit lame, but let's start here to get to the fun, real time travel to ride on dinosaurs and high-five Einstein. Time isn't really a thing that passes, but a dimension, a direction you can move in. We think our universe is four-dimensional, with 3 spatial and 1 time dimensions smooshed together into a fancy thing we call space-time. What you experience as time passing and your life happening is actually you moving through the time dimension. And this dimension is a bummer. While you can go forward, backward, left and right, up and down in the space dimensions, in time you can only go forward. You only get older, never younger. You can't make detours.
Unless if you're Benjamin Button. Remember, has anybody seen Benjamin Button? I don't know if that was the case on a real person. Definitely not. But he did.
But this is an illusion. You have far more control over how you move through time. To explain how this actually works, without making a maths video, we have to make a lot of physicists grumpy, so please keep in mind that we're simplifying and lying a bit. Okay, so there's a very strange rule.
Lying a bit.
Everything in our universe moves at the speed of light through 4-dimensional space-time. Your speed through space-time is the sum of your separate speeds through time and space. It's impossible for you to stay still. Even if you're not moving through space dimensions, you're moving through the time dimension, blasting face first into the future. You can slow down in the time dimension by moving faster through the space dimensions, but in total, you will always move at the speed of light through space-time. If you could somehow truly stand still in space, you'd still move through time at the speed of light, and the other way round. Photons, light particles, move at the speed of light through space. They don't experience any time passing because their speed in that time dimension is 0. In the time dimension, they're frozen in place. If you see light on Earth, from the photon's perspective, it was just on the surface of the sun and then suddenly crashed into your eye with nothing happening in between. Remember,
Dude, they're upset. They're upset. We're blowing physicists' minds out of the water. If you're a physicist and you might get triggered, trigger warning. But it's crazy to think about how fast light travels in general. Like, we're seeing things from billions of miles away, little stars. Or maybe not billion, but millions. Like, it's just still, like, imagine being able to see that far, yet we can't see the curvature of the Earth on the ocean. I'm confused about that part.
we're telling a science story here. In real life, things are more complicated. For one, it's impossible to truly stand still relative to space itself. You can only be standing still relative to other things in space. And you can't really define a reference frame for photons as we just did. For details, check out our sources. But now, back to our story. Okay, so everything in the universe moves at the same breathtaking speed, but this speed is split between space and time, which leads to all sorts of wacky things, and where we can see time travel happen. Real and easy time travel. When a bus drives past you, it's moving a little bit faster through space than you are, so it moves slower through time than you. Or how it's usually worded, the bus is moving slower through time relative to you.
Wait a minute, what? If the bus is going faster than you, then that means the bus is going slower in time than you? How does that... Oh, is it because you take more time to get to an area? Let's say you and the bus are going to the same area. Technically, the bus is going faster, which means time is slowing down, which means you'll get there quicker. I think that's what they're trying to say. Because it's going to take you more time to get there, which means in reality, the bus is time traveling faster.
While this makes things
Right?
feel like weird physics magic, it's very simple. Move faster through space, go slower in time. Move slower through space, go faster in time.
Exactly.
And if you had another person moving way faster or slower than you, both end up traveling different distances in the time dimension. The story that's usually told to demonstrate this is to get twins, force one of them into a rocket against their will, shoot them through space super fast while the other twin chills on Earth. And because one twin moves very fast through space while the other moves slowly on Earth, they move at different speeds through time. When the rocket finally gets home, they're no longer the same age, and the younger space twin is ready to start years of therapy for being abducted by theoretical physicists. This is the twin paradox, and it makes perfect sense within the rules of the universe. If you want to learn more about the paradoxes of time, we made a video about it. But
So if that is real, couldn't we send somebody up in space, have them go around, and then have them land, and it would be like, how long would it feel like for the twin though? Would it feel long? Because that's what I'm confused about. How long does it actually like take? Is the twin up there for like, let's say 85 years, right? And then he lands. Is he still the same age? Did he grow just like a little bit slower? I mean, like, how does that work? Is it still the same time frame where he's up there for 85 years, or for him does it feel like it's only, I don't know, 2 years, 20 years maybe?
in a nutshell, you're using time dilation, the fact that your position in time is subjective and only true for yourself. With sufficiently fast rockets, you could get as far as you want into the future. Technically, this way you could witness the end of the universe or look at the final thing that will ever happen. We also made videos about that. We should mention that there's another way to jump forward in time. Massive objects bend space-time, causing time to go slower near them. On Earth, the effect is tiny. The gravity of our planet makes time pass 0.0000007% slower than in deep space, far from any gravitational fields. Hardly useful for time travel, but it's a start. If you move into a really strong gravitational field, like around a black hole, the closer you get to the event horizon, the slower time passes for you. If we kidnap our twin again, they won't notice it at all. Their watch ticks as fast as it always does. But from the outside, they seem to almost stand still. Only when the twin leaves the gravitational field and comes back to Earth do they realize they time traveled. Okay,
That's so
you
weird.
can time travel to the future by going fast or near a black hole. But this is pretty lame and has literally only downsides, except for people who want to sort of teleport into the future. And it makes building a gigantic human space empire super hard, because even if we develop the technology to go really super fast between stars, going on a faraway journey will always mean leaving your home as you knew it forever. But now that we know all of this, there's actually a way we could use the rules of our universe to travel backwards through time. The past is a faraway land. Let's go there. So you always move through space-time at the speed of light. If you go fast through the space dimension, you slow down in the time dimension. And here we find an actual opening for backwards time travel. The theory of relativity, which may be the most solid scientific theory we know, does not forbid faster-than-light motion through space. If you move through the space dimension faster than the speed of light, superluminal, you need to move through the time dimension with negative speed. That means
So you have to go slower. Because I was going to say, if you try to go fast out there, right, and you try to go fast, let's say you go to the speed of light and then you come back at the speed of light, right, then it's no matter what, you're going to be in the future. So what they're trying to say is you're going to be going slower. How do you even go negative time? How do you go back in time, right? It's like, I think, what is it, like the Flash could run, or maybe Superman could fly around the world backwards, and it ends up actually, like, going back in time. I remember that being in a comic.
you go backwards through time relative to the rest of the universe into the past. Actually, scientists have been looking for superluminal particles and given them a name: tachyons. They could exist and would have wild properties like getting faster when they lose energy and, of course, traveling backwards in time. Finally, real time travel. Just like with photons, it isn't really possible to clearly define how time passes for tachyons themselves. It depends on how you move through space-time relative to them. But now, for the first time, some observers could actually see tachyons literally traveling backwards in time, which means they could be used to directly interact with the past. In theory, you could use them to send messages to your past self and change all sorts of things that have already happened. Maybe with some tachyon-powered sci-fi future tech, you could see a star die before it was born, meet your great-grandparents, prevent your past self from making that one dumb mistake, win the lottery, or get eaten by dinosaurs.
And the question that reigns from that is, if you do go in the past, and let's say you do change something, right? Let's say, like, yeah, you got kidnapped, and then you got sent out into space, you went back in time, right? And then you stopped yourself from getting kidnapped. Does that make two separate timelines now, or are you just going to fade from existence? That's the true question, right? Because are you just gonna kind of like spawn in like, oh, and then have the knowledge that you did that? Because you'll only have the knowledge technically that you ran away, and then a second timeline would open up, and then you're in a whole different boat at that point, and now there's two split timelines, right? So that's like a very interesting kind of theory in general, like, because then you're looking at possibilities that are completely unknown.
And create juicy time paradoxes that also kind of break the universe. Oh, what's that? Right. It seems there are things in our universe that are impossible to mix. Unfortunately, the theory of relativity specifically forbids anything that starts out traveling slower than the speed of light to reach the speed of light. Because moving faster through space requires energy, and the energy required to reach the speed of light is literally infinite. Even if you could gather all the energy of the universe, you couldn't accelerate a grain of sand to the speed of light. You can get as close as you like, but you can never reach it. It is possible to move at the speed of light as photons do, but they always move at the speed of light. If you move superluminally, you will always move superluminally. And sadly, so far, we don't have the tiniest bit of evidence that tachyons exist. While they work on paper, most scientists think they're not real. So for now, it seems that time travel into the past is strictly impossible, no matter how hard we try. The past is a faraway land, and while we can look at it in pictures and movies and our memories, it's locked away, forever outside of our reach. While this is sad, it leaves you with the most important time there is, right now, the moment where you actually exist, and a future that's yours to forge. If you want, you could even time travel to it.
What I find interesting about time
Luckily-
travel in general and everything, right, is time travel is one of those things where when time travel begins, there's always been time travel, right? So does that mean that we've never had time travel up until this moment? And does that mean in the future we've never had time travel? Or are we on a current track? Because even if we, let's say, at some point in the future have time travel, we'd be able to go back to this day and share the time travel like information and share all that. So does that mean that we just are never going to be able to have time travel? Because at some point there has to be time travel to be able to go back and do time travel. I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that they used a quantum mechanics to actually travel back in time for 1 second. If they were able to do that, wouldn't they be able to, after a long time, be able to actually travel back in time? And then if that's the case, then couldn't you be able to travel back, or is 1 second the max? Or did that not even happen? I'm not completely sure. I do have a question for you guys though, right? If time travel does become a thing, right, would you rather travel to the past or to the future? Let me know, because I'd be really interested in hearing it, and let me know why also. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, come on, what are we doing here? We're talking about traveling back in time, but right now we're in the present, and you can be in the present right now by hitting that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the White Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and it is time to get 1% smarter. That's right. Today, we are going to be learning about the egg. It says it's a short story, but when I saw some other videos, like on the sidebar, it said the egg theory. So I guess it might be a theory. It might be a little story. It might be a little something. We're going to lock in today. We're going to figure it out.
You were on your way home when you died. It
Whoa.
was a car accident.
Whoa, that just got deep right off the bat.
Nothing
What?
particularly remarkable, but fatal nonetheless. It was a painless death. The medics tried their best to save you, but to no avail.
Damn, we spawned in and then died right away.
Your body was so utterly shattered, you were better off, trust me. And that's when you met me. What happened? Where am I? You died, I said, matter-of-factly. No point in mincing words. There was a truck, and it was skidding. Yes. I died. Yes. But don't feel bad about it. Everyone dies. You looked around. There was nothingness, just you and me. What is this place?
I'm so confused.
Is this the afterlife? More or less. Are you God? Yes, I'm God.
Oh, okay.
My kids? My wife? What about them? Will they be all right? That's what I like to see, I said. You just died and your main concern is for your family. That's good stuff right there. You looked at me with fascination. To you, I didn't look like God. I just looked like some man or possibly a woman. Some vague authority figure, maybe.
Okay.
Don't worry, I said. They'll be fine. Your kids will remember you as perfect in every way. They didn't have time to grow contemptuous of you. Your wife will cry on the outside, but will be secretly relieved.
Whoa, what? What? She'll be secretly relieved? Why is my wife secretly relieved? What? Hold up. Was there like internal stuff going on that we weren't aware of? Wow. Okay, so far this is crazy. So I guess this is going to be maybe like an afterlife type of deal, like what happens after you pass?
To be fair, your marriage was falling apart.
Oh,
If
it
it's
was?
any consolation, she'll feel very guilty for feeling relieved. Oh,
I guess that's good, right?
so what happens now? Do I go to heaven or hell or something? Neither. You'll be reincarnated.
Oh,
Ah. So the Hindus were right. All religions are right in their own way. Walk with me. You followed
reincarnated.
along as we strode through the void. Where are we going? Nowhere in particular. It's just nice to walk while we talk. So, what's the point then? When I get reborn, I'll just be a blank slate, right? A baby. So, all my experiences and everything I did in this life won't matter. Not
Yeah, is that like a thing? Like, for reincarnation, like, does anything that you do technically in this life matter? And can you also, like, potentially find yourself? I don't know how it works, but, like, let's say you're a public figure, right? And you die and then you're reincarnated. Are you kind of like, can you actually see yourself in that circumstance? I don't know. It's a really interesting thought.
experiences and everything I did in this life won't matter. Not so. You have within you all the knowledge and experiences of all your past lives. You just don't remember them right
All
now.
your past lives?
I stopped walking and took you by the shoulders. Your soul is more magnificent, beautiful, and gigantic than you can possibly imagine. A human mind can only contain a tiny fraction of what you are. It's like sticking your finger in a glass of water to see if it's hot or cold. You put a tiny part of yourself into the vessel, and when you bring it back out, you've gained all the experiences it had. You've been in a
Oh, it's like playing a game. It's like achieving 100% on a game, and every person, like, that's a vessel. Every person is like a vessel, and he's like a game. So every person he's lived as, I guess. I don't know if they're gonna tell us how many people he's lived as, but it's like he's kind of gained their knowledge, and then he moves on to the next person.
You've gained
I guess,
all
right?
the experiences it had. You've been in a human for the last 48 years, so you haven't stretched out yet and felt the rest of your immense consciousness.
Oh, they're all
If
gonna
we
come
hung
back.
out here for long enough, you'd start remembering everything. But there's no point to doing that between each life. How many times have I been reincarnated then? Oh, lots. Lots and lots. And into lots of different lives. This time around, you'll be a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Wait, what? You're sending me back in time? Well, I
Oh,
guess
yeah, true.
technically
540 AD. Oh my God. What? He's going back, really far back.
time as you know it only exists in your universe. Things are different where I come from. Where you come from? Oh, sure. I come from somewhere, somewhere else, and there are others like me, I know you'll want to know what it's
Whoa,
like
that's
there,
crazy.
but honestly, you wouldn't understand. Oh, you
So he's in the afterlife, and there's an afterlife. I don't, or maybe it's not like an afterlife, but like he has like a whole like frat party he goes to, and this other guy's just living, just being reincarnated 24/7. So does that mean like every person who's being reincarnated has one of these guys, and then maybe like they all meet up or something? I wonder how it works.
said, a little let down. But wait, if I get reincarnated to other places in time, I could have interacted with myself at some point.
Yo, I said that.
Sure, happens all the time. And with both lives only aware of their own lifespan, you don't even know it's happening.
Imagine if you fell in love with yourself. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's like the craziest thought right there. Falling in love with yourself. Whew.
So, what's the point of it all? I looked you in the eye. The meaning of life, the reason I made this whole universe, is for you to mature. You mean mankind? You want us to mature? No, just you. I made this whole universe for you. With each new life, you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect.
What?
Just me? What about everyone else? There is no one else. In this universe, there's just you and me.
Wait, what?
You stared
Oh,
blank.
he's talking about the universe that they're in, like before this afterlife? No, I mean, did he talk about the afterlife universe, or is he talking about on like technically Earth?
At me. But all the people on Earth. All you. Different incarnations of you.
What?
Wait, I'm everyone. Now you're getting it. I'm every human being who ever lived.
What?
Or who will ever live. Yes. I'm
What?
Abraham Lincoln. And you're John Wilkes Booth too. I'm Hitler, you said, appalled. And you're the millions he killed. I'm Jesus. And you're everyone who followed him.
That is insane. So he is living everybody's lives and they are all actually just him? Hold up.
You fell silent. Every time you victimized someone, you were victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you.
Oh my God, that is a crazy thought. Hold up. So that means I am you, you are me. Every time that like let's say you go to school and you bully somebody, you're actually bullying yourself and you get to live both of those lives and kind of understand through. That's like empathy at its max. Hold up. Oh my God, that's insane. So everybody is just the same person. That is, oh my God, that is wild. Holy crap. I like this. I like this theory. Or it's a short story. It might not like fully be a theory.
You
I wonder who
thought
came
for a
up with
long
this.
time. Why? Why do all this? Because someday you will become like me. Because that's what you are. You're one of my kind. You're my
What?
child. Wow,
Oh,
you
wow.
said incredulous.
That's interesting.
You mean I'm a god? No, not yet. You're a fetus. You're still growing. Once you've lived every human life throughout all time, you will have grown enough to be born.
Oh my God, that's a long time.
So the whole universe, it's just an egg, I answered. Now it's time for you to move on to your next life. And I sent you on your way.
Oh my God. Is that the end? Oh, we got a little bit left. I think that is the end. Oh my God. What an insane, what an insane little thing. Yeah, I think it's the end, right? It's just, yeah, I think you can buy paintings from them. That's kind of cool. Oh my God. That is insane to think about. So, basically, right? It's like we're all the same person living. separate lives, but we are the son of, or yeah, we are like the son. You know what this reminds me of? You know the Rick and Morty episode where they're inside that game and Morty has his personality split through all the NPCs and they're all like, we are Morty, we are Morty. It starts out as like a little cult thing and then it grows into like such a big, like, you know, they're bringing spaceships off. It kind of reminds me of that. It's like, no, we're not more like, or no, we're not like regular people. We're a teenage boy in a video game. And it's just like this crazy thing. I forgot what that game's called in Rick and Morty, but it kind of reminds me of that. That's a really interesting theory, though. I actually really like that. Let me know what you guys think about that theory, because that's wild. I'm going to like tell so many people about this. This is such an interesting story. Holy crap. So this is the guy who made it, Andy something. I don't know if that's the guy who made this or the guy who made the video, but either way, fantastic job, fantastic story / theory thing. I don't even know what it's considered as, but oh my god, that was phenomenal. If you guys like this video, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you have it. I mean, all you're doing is letting yourself down. In a sense, all you're doing is letting yourself down. But it's okay. It's okay. It can be fixed. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button. Because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout. And today we are talking about the unknown. Or is it known now? That's right. Today we are talking about how to terraform Mars, and it looks like it's going to be with lasers. That's right. That is exactly the name of this video. I'm not going to repeat it this time, but it's time to lock in, and it's time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
Mars is a disappointing hellhole lacking practically everything we need to stay alive. It looks like we'll only ever have small crews spend a miserable time hidden underground.
Valid Mr. Beast
Except
challenge.
we could terraform it into a green new world. But to solve the planet's problems, we first need to make it worse and turn it into oceans of lava with gigantic lasers. This isn't a far-fetched science fiction tale. Terraforming Mars is possible on the kind of timescale our ancestors built great monuments in. If humanity solves some of its pressing problems and ventures into space to expand into the solar system, this may not be that far off. Okay, so how do we terraform Mars quickly? Well, it's complicated.
Okay. So it seems like it's doable, but at the same time seems like it could be a little sketchy.
Mars is dry and has no soil to grow anything.
Yeah,
its atmosphere is too thin to breathe or protect us from radiation, giving you a high risk of cancer. So to turn it into a new home for humanity, we have to give it a proper atmosphere similar to Earth's. It should be made of 21% oxygen, 79% nitrogen, and a tiny bit of CO2, at an average temperature of 14 degrees Celsius and under 1 bar of pressure.
That's a lot of quotas to make one planet hit. Just throwing it out there.
We have to create oceans and rivers, and then the ground
tall.
has to be weathered into fertile soil to host living things. Then we need to install a biosphere on the surface and prevent it all from being undone by installing protective measures that can stand the test of time. It is difficult, but a big laser makes it a lot easier. Challenge 1: the atmosphere. Some 4 billion years ago, Mars had a nice oxygen-rich atmosphere and was home to vast oceans and rivers.
How do we know that? Like, how do we know that 4 billion years ago that was a thing? I just don't understand. How do we know that? Like, prove it.
It held onto it for several 100 million years before it got blown away. Ultraviolet rays broke down the atmospheric gases and then the oceans until they were swept away by solar wind. Today, Mars is a dry, barren wasteland. Luckily, a sizable portion of the water is frozen in deep reservoirs and in the polar ice caps, enough to create a very shallow ocean. And enormous amounts of oxygen are bound as minerals in the Martian rocks, like the oxygen in the iron oxides that give the planet its rust-red color, as well as carbon dioxide in carbonates. To free these gases, we need to reverse the reactions that lock them away by using thermolysis, which occurs at temperatures as high as on the surface of the Sun. In short, we want to melt the surface of Mars.
So how long would something like this take? We're probably looking at a few million years of melting Mars for it to come back and actually be habitable, right? Like, I have to be a few million, if not billions of years. Are we even going to be around
The
that
best
long?
way to do that would be to put lasers in orbit, aiming their beams down on Mars. The most powerful laser today is the ELI-NP, able to produce beams of 10
Valid.
petawatts of power for a trillionth of a second. To melt Mars, we need a laser twice as powerful that runs continuously. The easiest way is to use a solar-pumped laser that can be powered directly with sunlight. At its core are
That would be
metal-infused
crazy.
glass rods that absorb energy and release it as a laser beam. If we build an array of mirrors in space about 11 times the size of the United States, we can focus enough sunlight onto them to melt Mars. Let's do
Imagine
it.
that. Just a bunch of mirrors reflecting the sunlight, hitting a laser, terraforming Mars.
As the lasers hit the
That'd be
surface,
insane.
about 750 kilograms of oxygen and some carbon dioxide emerge from every cubic meter of rock melted. If we are efficient, our lasers only need to melt through the top 8 meters of the surface to get enough oxygen. It would look terrifying. The skies would be shrouded in storms, while the ground would glow red hot, crisscrossed by currents of lava.
That would be
Tireless laser
wild.
beams sweep over the landscape, leaving trails too bright to look at. After they pass, the ground cools quickly. A strange snow falls, the ashes from all the elements that solidify as they cool down, like silicon and iron.
So could that have happened to the Earth? I mean, could it have?
Mars is still a
From
cold
somebody that
planet
lived
at
on
this
Mars?
point. A happy side effect of this inferno is that all the water in the polar ice caps and even deep underground rises into the sky as hot steam, forming clouds that rain down over the entire planet. They would wash out the nastier gases from the atmosphere like chlorine and carry away harmful elements that accumulated on the surface. In the end, they would form shallow oceans, saltier than on Earth. We might need to do an extra cleanup afterwards. It would take about 50 years of continuous lasering to create our oxygen
Damn.
atmosphere.
50
We could use this
years?
opportunity to dig deeper in some places to create the basins for salty oceans or rivers and spare some landmark features like Olympus Mons and Valles Marineris.
That's not
We're
long at
not
all.
done though. The resulting atmosphere is nearly 100% oxygen and only 0.2 bar. It's hard to breathe and very flammable. To make it similar to Earth and a lot safer, we need to add a lot of nitrogen, which Mars is sadly lacking. We have to import it. The ideal source is Titan, a large moon of Saturn, covered in a thick
Okay.
atmosphere that's almost entirely nitrogen.
So now we're
We
pulling
just have to move
planets.
3,000 trillion tons from the outer solar system to Mars. While that's not easy, it is doable. To
I mean,
process that
yeah,
much of
it's
Titan's
doable,
atmosphere,
but
we have to
what?
construct giant automated factories on its surface, powered by our lasers to suck in the atmosphere and compress it into a liquid.
How are we sucking in an atmosphere of another planet when we can't even go back to the moon? You're over here saying it's doable. I'd like to see those tapes, huh? Because they obviously overwritten them. They overwritten the moon tapes, the most historical thing to ever happen, and they just overwrited it. Oh, sorry, we taped over it. My bad. And we lost all the technology. BS-ery. And now you're telling me we're going to suck nitrogen from another planet a few billion light years away? Okay, not a billion. I don't know how long it is. But that far away, we're going to sit there and we're going to suck nitrogen out of? Nuh-uh, honey. Nuh-uh.
This gets pumped
Don't
into
believe it.
bullet-shaped tanks, which a mass driver shoots all the way to the red planet, where they explode and mix with the oxygen. We've already been able to send individual missions to Saturn in just a few years. With enough resources, it should be possible to complete the task within 2 generations. Of course, it would be much more convenient to have nitrogen left over from terraforming Venus on the side.
When did we terraform Venus? Hold up, I think we skipped a whole terraforming. So we're supposed to terraform Venus before we terraform Mars? Because we haven't done... Yo, life kind of like a video game if you think about it. Imagine we terraform every single planet and each planet is a bunch of different things. Oh my god, that would be wild. Holy crap, it could be like a video game. If we actually could terraform all these planets, whoa.
Explains this in detail in another video. So,
we're gonna have to
about a
watch that one,
century
huh?
after the start of the terraforming
Wasn't
process,
sure- I
we
didn't know
have a
there was a
breathable
part 1.
atmosphere that has the right gases. If the liberated
Okay.
CO2 isn't enough to warm it up to temperatures we can stand, we just add some super greenhouse gases. Mars at this point resembles a black marble from all the cooling lava, spotted with growing oceans and red patches where the old surface remains untouched. It's still a wasteland, no better than a desert on Earth. We need to fill it with life. Challenge 2. biosphere.
Ooh, the
Installing
biosphere.
a
I was wondering
biosphere
about
on a
this.
new planet is very difficult. Unexpected interactions between species or sudden diseases can destabilize it to the point of collapse. We would probably begin by seeding our young oceans with phytoplankton. Without competition, it would bloom rapidly, filling up the oceans to become the bottom of an aquatic food chain. They can be followed by tiny zooplankton, then by fish, maybe even sharks and whales. If things go well, life in the oceans will thrive. Life on land is harder. Plants need nutrient-filled ground to sink their roots into, but most of the surface is the congealed remains of lava and ash. We could wait for thousands of years for water and wind to grind it down into finer sands, or try to do it manually. But we want to be quick,
A lot of work.
and we have a big laser. Turning the beam on and off in rapid succession would cause the ground to quickly heat up and contract, which breaks it into smaller and smaller pieces. Add a bit of water and you get a sort of dark mud. Into this mud, we can mix fungi and nitrogen-fixing bacteria. They're able to absorb nitrogen and convert it into nitrate compounds to feed plants. The first plants we want to bring are native to volcanic islands on Earth, since they're perfectly suited to the laser-blasted Martian landscape.
I guess that makes
Eventually,
sense.
the enriched mud becomes the foundation for grasslands and forests. In Mars's lower gravity, trees can become very tall very fast. Their roots gather the nutrients they need and then dig deeper to turn more rocks into soil, forming a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Damn, trees are that strong. They be breaking rocks. I guess that is true. Actually, I never thought about that. Wow, trees are strong.
At this point, we can slowly introduce more plant varieties, insects, and animals. Not mosquitoes, though.
What?
The new
Nah,
biosphere needs to
nobody
be
needs
maintained
mosquitoes.
to prevent it from falling out of balance. If plants grow too quickly and absorb too much carbon dioxide, the planet cools down too much. If key species die out, we could see populations collapse faster than they could recover. On Earth, other species would move in to fill the void, but our Martian biosphere is not as flexible. It takes hundreds, if not thousands of years before Mars becomes a stable environment. But eventually, the planet will have the potential
Hundreds of thousands of years. Like, nobody's going to be around by then. Also, though, if you think about it, like, this happened on Earth, which is insane to think about.
to sustain large human colonies. With air, water, and food available, we can finally call Mars, black, blue, and green, our home.
Those
A
are
giant
big spaceships.
volcanic island in space. Will it last, though? Challenge 3, the long-term future.
Okay.
There is a problem we haven't addressed. Mars's core does not produce a magnetic field, so it doesn't have enough protection from solar radiation or cosmic rays.
Yeah, I was
This
thinking about
becomes
that. the solar
dangerous for the
radiation.
long-term health of Martian populations. So, as a final step, we need an artificial magnetic field.
Yeah.
It
I've
doesn't
been working on something recently for that, but it's more on the lines of like, you got to think about radiation and such.
have to be huge like Earth's. It just needs to deflect the solar wind enough so that it doesn't touch Mars. The easiest way is to construct a
magnets.
magnetic umbrella far ahead of Mars that splashes the solar wind to the sides. A big superconducting ring powered by nuclear facilities is all it takes.
Really?
It
That's
would
all it
orbit
takes?
at the Mars-Sun L1 point, keeping it constantly in between the Sun and Mars and protect the new atmosphere. And that's it. Terraforming Mars would take some work, hefty resources, and probably a century or 10, but it would be the first time we've lived in a home designed and shaped solely by us and for us. A first step towards our future among the stars. Well,
It is pretty insane to think about how, like, it actually could be done, And, like, I'll work on it and stuff, but I don't know. It'll be like a side hobby on the side. But it's just, like, it's crazy to think that, like, that happened here. I mean, to an extent, right? Not to the same. It was more of an asteroid hitting and, like, killing all life, and there was some that made it through. But it's like you could actually inhabit other planets. Like, it's such a video game thought process. But anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, you want me to terraform Mars or not? I mean, it's pretty simple. If you do, hit that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout, and have you guys ever heard of string theory? That's right, string theory. Not the strings, like, holding them and, like, wondering if they're there. No. This string theory is a little different, and I would like to explain, but we're going to watch a video that's going to explain it a little bit better, and then we're going to give our thoughts and opinions about it. Let's lock in for String Theory Explained.
What is the true nature of the universe? To answer this question, humans come up with stories to describe the world. We test our stories and learn what to keep and what to throw away. But the more we learn, the more complicated and weird our stories become. Some of them so much so that it's really hard to know what they're actually about. Like string theory, a famous, controversial and often misunderstood story about the nature of everything.
Is it really
Why
controversial?
did we come up with it? And is it correct or just an idea we should chuck out?
So, my thought process, right, if I'm right, I might be wrong, is string theory is everything is connected. That's what I think string theory is, but I don't know, like, the full deep meaning, so we're going to learn this today together. It's going to be exciting, guys. Knowledge time.
To understand the true nature of reality, we looked at things up close and were amazed. Wondrous landscapes in the dust, zoos of bizarre creatures, complex protein robots, all of them made from structures of molecules made up of countless, even smaller things, atoms.
Yeah,
We
that's
thought
wild
they were the
to think
final
about.
layer of reality until we smashed them together really hard and discovered things that can't be divided anymore. Elementary particles. But now we had a problem. They're so small that we could no longer look at them. Think about it. What is seeing? To see something, we need light, an electromagnetic wave. This wave hits the surface of the thing and gets reflected back from it into your eye. The wave carries information from the object that your brain uses to create an image. So you can't see something without somehow interacting with it. Seeing is touching, an active process, not a passive one. This is not a problem.
Wow, that is actually kind of crazy to think about. Right off the bat. I guess, yeah, that is true. Because, like, I was thinking, like, in my head, I was like, what if you look at your phone? Because technically you're looking at something, but it is through the phone you're seeing and through the light. So, yeah.
With most things. But particles are very, very, very small. So small that the electromagnetic waves we use to see are too big to touch them. Visible light just passes over them. We can try to solve this by creating electromagnetic waves with more and much smaller wavelengths. But in quantum physics, shorter wavelengths means more energy. So when we touch a particle with a wave that has a lot of energy, it gets a kick. By looking at a particle, we change it. In quantum physics, we cannot know where a particle is and where it's going with absolute precision. This fact is so important that it has a name. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle, the basis of all quantum physics.
Heisenberg, huh?
So what does a particle look like then? What is its nature? We don't know.
So, how does light pass over it that you can't even see it? Is my question. Just because it's so small? I know that, like, you know, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. I feel like everybody has. But, like, let's say this is a wall, right? You can keep doing this with your hand. And if the atoms shift perfectly, and it's like 1 in, like, 18 billion, your hand will go right through the wall. That's crazy to think about.
If we look really hard, we can see a blurry sphere of influence, but not the particles themselves. We just know they exist. But if that's the case, how can we do any science with them? We did what humans do and invented a new story, a mathematical fiction. The story of the point particle. We decided that we would pretend that a particle is a point in space. Any electron is a point with a certain electric charge and a certain mass, all indistinguishable from each other. This way, physicists could define them and calculate all of their interactions. This can be made precise in quantum field theory, and this solved a lot of problems. All of the standard model of particle physics is built on it, and it predicts lots of things very well. Some quantum properties of the electron, for example, have been tested and are accurate up to 0.0000000000002%.
Whoa.
So while
That's a lot of zeros. That is a lot of zeros. It is crazy to just, like, think for a second that we are all made up of microscopic particles. Like, if you think about it, right? The Earth is just a bunch of dust particles that wrapped itself together. All this is created out of that, and we are just byproducts of little dust. at the end of the day. Obviously, there's other ways too, but like, this is more of like the scientific route, I at least think. And that's like, the scientific aspect of it. So it's like, if you think about it in like the scientific aspect, that is what it is, right? Obviously there's religion and such too that, changes the narrative in the scope of things. But if you think about it from the scientific part, which that's what this was making me think about, that's basically is like, we're all from dust and like all these atoms, these tiny, tiny things. And like you split an atom, boom, like crazy. It's crazy.
Particles are not really points. By treating them as if they were, we get a pretty good picture of the universe. Not only did this idea advance science, it also led to a lot of real-world technology we use every day. But there's a huge problem: gravity. In quantum mechanics, all physical forces are carried by certain particles. But according to Einstein's general relativity, gravity is not a force like the others in the universe. If the universe is a play, particles are the actors, but gravity is the stage. To put it simply, gravity is a theory of geometry, the geometry of space-time itself, of distances which we need to describe with absolute precision. But since there is no way to precisely measure things in the quantum world, our story of gravity doesn't work with our story of quantum physics. When physicists tried to add gravity to the story by inventing a new particle, their mathematics broke down. And this is a big problem. If we could marry gravity to quantum physics and the Standard Model, we would have the theory of everything.
Really? So all they need to really understand is gravity added to it, and we're pretty much, we unlocked everything. We got maximum achievements. That's insane.
Very smart people came up with a new story. They asked, what is more complex than a point? A line or a string? String theory was born. What makes string theory so elegant is that it describes many different elementary particles as different modes of vibration of the string. Just like a violin string vibrating differently can give you a lot of different notes, a string can give you different particles. Most importantly, this includes gravity. String theory promised to unify all fundamental forces of the universe. This caused enormous excitement and hype. String theory quickly graduated to a possible theory of everything. Unfortunately, string theory comes with a lot of strings attached. Much of the maths involving a consistent string theory does not work in our universe with its 3 spatial and 1 temporal dimensions. String theory requires 10 dimensions to work out.
It's crazy that there is more than, we're in the 3rd dimension. There's a 4th, there's a 5th, there's a 6th, there's a 7th. That's why, like, a lot of people say, like, when you pass away, you go to the 4th dimension. Some people will say that. Technically, it may not be wrong, because in reality, I mean, nobody knows, but there's the square, right? And then, like, or like a cube. We're in a cube, right? Think about it like that. We're in a cube. There's a square, that's a 2D, right? A cube is a 3D. And I think a 4D is going through the cube. I don't know the complete science behind it, but it's crazy to think. Oh my god.
So string theorists did calculations in model universes, and then try to get rid of the 6 additional dimensions and describe our own universe. But so far, nobody has succeeded, and no prediction of string theory has been proven in an experiment. So string theory did not reveal the nature of our universe. One could argue that in this case, string theory really isn't useful at all. Science is all about experiments and predictions. If we can't do those, why should we bother with strings? It really is all about how we use it. Physics is based on maths. 2 + 2 makes 4. This is true no matter how you feel about it. And the maths in string theory does work out. That's why string theory is still useful. Imagine that you want to build a cruise ship, but you only have blueprints for a small rowing boat. There are plenty of differences: the engine, the materials, the scale. But both things are fundamentally the same: things that float. So by studying the rowing boat blueprints, you might still learn something about how to build a cruise ship eventually. With string theory, we can try to answer some questions about quantum gravity that have been puzzling physicists for decades, such as how black holes work or the information paradox. String theory may point us in the right direction. When used in this spirit, string theory becomes a precious tool for theoretical physicists and help them discover new aspects of the quantum world and some beautiful mathematics. So maybe the story of string theory is not the theory of everything. But just like the story of the point particle, it may be an extremely useful story. We don't yet know what the true nature of reality is, but we'll keep coming up with stories to try and find out until one day, hopefully, we do know. This video was supported by the...
It's so crazy to think about how, where was that photo? It was like a cool photo here. I liked how it looked. What do you just like put in the universe in the thing?
String theory is not the theory of everything. But just like the story of the point particle, it may be an extremely useful story.
I thought that was funny. I like that one. But it's crazy to think about how the universe is so unknown. Our oceans are only 20% discovered, I think, or 33% discovered. I think there's like 77 to 80% of the ocean hasn't even been discovered yet. That's on Earth. And then there's all out there. There's so much to think about. And then there's so much, you're thinking about that's the big spectrum, right? There's the small spectrum with atoms, with the string theory. I thought string theory was more on the lines of everything was tied together, like hive mind-esque, but maybe I'm a little wrong on that. God, there's so many theories out there. And we might, at some point, find out what the true story is. That's right. Stick around because we learned one thing today. We learned string theory, or we learned a little bit of string theory. I'm sure there's a lot more that there was probably to digest throughout. But we are 1% smarter today, and stick around because pretty soon we are going to be maximum capacity in the brain. You're going to be like, dude, stop making us learn so much because we're so smart already. And you guys are going to hate learning by the end of this. But you know what? We're going to lock in and we're going to learn more. We're going to learn more. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not a sit you, but like, come on, dude. Come on. Don't want to get caught up in the not learning aspect. That's right. You don't want to be a little dummy dumb, but it's okay. It can be fixed. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout, and today we're gonna be watching a little video. It's called Let's Kill You a Billion Times to Make You Immortal. What does that mean? Does that mean if you live a billion lives? Does that mean if... I actually don't even know what to consider that as. I saw the title, I saw the thumbnail, I thought it looked interesting, and I wanted to hop in. I don't know where to start with this one, but it's time to lock in, and it's time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
Might be unkillable, impossible to delete out of existence, if one of the most exciting ideas about physics, quantum immortality, is true. To test this idea, we'll put a nuclear bomb in your living room, but more of that later. This is real science happening around one of the most successful theories of physics. To understand why, we need to tell you a story. The story of the smallest parts in the universe, atoms and fundamental particles. With everyday objects, things intuitively make sense. If you kick a marble 10 times with the same force and at the same angle, it always lands in the same spot. But if you kick an electron 10 times exactly the same way, it shows up in different places. On the most fundamental level of reality, randomness is the rule. The story that solves this is called quantum mechanics. Simplified, it goes something like this. A particle like an electron is not like a tiny marble, but like a shapeshifter, a diffuse thing we call a wave that ebbs and flows. But to make it much weirder, it's not a wave of matter or energy, but a wave of probability, an immaterial essence that has values between 0% and 100%. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Quantum mechanics doesn't really tell us much about the electron. It only tells us how this entity that we call an electron behaves on average. Say you shoot an electron gun at your apartment. You shoot it 100 times. 80 times the electron shows up in your living room and 20 times in your kitchen. So the probability wave of our electron is 80% in the living room and 20% in the kitchen.
That makes sense.
What's deeply annoying is that this story of probability waves works insanely well in reality.
I thought quantum mechanics was being able to predict No, I thought quantum mechanics was being able to use zero and ones. I guess that's quantum computing, right? So quantum mechanics is going to be, is it more of predicting where it's going to
It's
be
not
then?
just some brainchild that only works on paper. Scientists have
Yo, that's a
tested it in
crazy
countless
experiment.
experiments, and it works every single time. It explains how a lot of real things work, from information passing through microchips to the atoms fusing in the center of stars. And yet, how can this story make sense? All of our other scientific stories give us a mental picture of the things they're describing. A sphere of iron at the center of Earth, an elastic fabric of space. But a wave of probability, what's that even supposed to look like?
How
Quantum
do stars make sense? Don't stars need oxygen to like doesn't fire need oxygen to be able to grow? Aren't stars just big balls of fire? So if stars are big balls of fire and there's no oxygen out there, how do they actually last and how do they even ignite to begin with? Somebody's got to know that. That's probably something commonly like actually probably stated. I just thought about that though.
mechanics doesn't tell us anything about the electron itself, what it looks like, how it moves, or how it tastes. But if our story doesn't describe the electrons themselves, what does it describe, and how does it potentially make you immortal? What is the quantum story really about? Scientists have been debating this for a century. They've come up with tons of ideas we can't cover here, but there are two popular schools of thought. We'll call them linguists and literary critics. They're screaming and arguing over what the quantum story really means. The position of the linguists is shut up and calculate. They basically claim that quantum mechanics is not a story about reality, but just a kind of grammar for the theoretical language of the universe. With this language, we can predict experiments, nothing else. If there is no story, there's no point in asking what the story says about the electron. Whether electrons are tiny marbles or clouds, waves of negative charge, or Detective Pikachu is missing the point. Quantum mechanics doesn't enable you to visualize any electrons. All you can do is to run experiments. And physics is all about experiments, not about creating mental pictures for us. So shut up, stop imagining fairy tales, and just use the probability wave to calculate things. Follow the grammar, ignore the plot. No, scream the literary critics. Read between the lines. There's a hidden meaning here. They are many worldlians, and they're convinced that quantum mechanics is a story about reality, and they want to interpret the story.
That would be interesting if you think about it. Quantum mechanics is a story. I mean, would we be able to find out a lot of history through quantum mechanics? Potentially, right? Because quantum mechanics in general is such a, like, it's such an out there idea at first, right? And then it got shown it was possible to an extent, right? But it's like, how can we actually embody that and like understand to the fullest extent of what it could be and how to figure it out and how to use it like every day? Like, is that going to be something like pretty soon they're going to be teaching kids in school? Like grades 1 to 4 is going to be like all the math now, and then like grades 5 to like whatever graduation is all quantum mechanics. That would be insane. I mean, if it became easy to people, I just don't think it's going to be easy.
The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is not the same as the multiverse, by the way, which is a whole different can of worms, but we'll get to that another time. The many worldlians think that the universe is an infinitely complex quantum state, where all physically possible outcomes coexist simultaneously. If
That
the
makes
probability wave of your electron is split 80% to 20% between your living room and the kitchen, that means that the electron is split in a similar way. That there are 5 versions of the electron, 4 of them are going to the living room, and 1 to the kitchen. But it isn't just the electron that splits. You are observing the electron, so there are 5 versions of you too.
So, yeah, I mean, I think I know what he's gonna gotta get into, which is like if you, let's say you get into a car accident, right? And you end up dying. And then you actually your soul goes into another version of you in like the quantum realm, right? I think this is what he's gonna get into, so I'm pre-firing it. But your soul is gonna go into another version of you in like the quantum realm type deal where you actually didn't. So it's like all these close calls and stuff. It's kind of like oh, you come back into reality and you're like, whoa, that was close or something like that. it's kind of like a sudden, like, maybe that's why you get the deja vu feeling and stuff. But that is an idea I've heard of before. I wonder if that's what he's going to get into. I wanted to pre-fire it just in case.
4 of them see the electron in the living room and 1 in the kitchen. Each of these different versions of you and the electron are equally real, equally true, and all of them exist at this moment in your house. But they can't communicate or interact in any way, so they're totally invisible to each other, which
I'm
means
wrong.
that whoever you are right now, you are just one of your versions experiencing just one thing, either seeing the electron in the living room or in the kitchen. Many worlds means that all physically possible worlds are coexisting right here, right now, but independently of each other like the branches of a tree. And there are a lot of them. Every possible quantum process means there are other possible worlds. A radioactive atom decays, another world exists where it didn't. A cosmic ray hits one of your cells, another world exists where the ray just passed through. Each second, bazillions upon bazillions of new worlds exist on top of each other. Stop it, shout the linguists. If these worlds can't interact with each other, we can't check whether they exist. This is not science, so please shut up and calculate. Wait, there is a way to find out. But to do it, you'll have to die a few hundred times. And maybe prove that you're immortal. The ultimate experiment. All we need are 2 electron detectors connected to a nuclear bomb in your living room. If the detector in your living room is activated, the nuke explodes. If the one in the kitchen is activated, you're safe. Now sit on the nuke and have your brave assistant shoot the electron gun. There are 2 ways this can go. There's a 20% chance the electron lands in the kitchen and you survive, and an 80% chance you die. Okay, let's shoot.
That's a big chance right there. It's an 80-20 split.
Beep. Oh, lucky you. The electron landed in the kitchen. Let's try once more. Beep. And once again. Beep. And another 100 times. Beep, 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 beep. If there is only one universe, you'll die fairly soon. Sooner rather than later, the electron will trigger the nuke and you'll be instantly vaporized. But if the many worlds interpretation is true, then every time your assistant shoots the gun, there are 5 versions of you and 4 instantly die. Only one of your versions is alive, and there's only one thing you can experience: your survival. It doesn't matter.
But what if you're the one? What if you're one of the 4 on the first one? I mean, it is, let's say if it's an infinite amount, that's a lot, right? So the chances are low. But what if, like, ironically, you were one of the chances, ironically? Like, would that just, like, completely boil out the thing? It is an interesting,
how many times you try. From your perspective, you'll survive every time. At first, it will seem like luck, but at some point, your luck will become near impossible. In a universe with just one reality, your odds of surviving 100 times in a row are about 1 in 10 duovigintillion,
Oh,
one
wow.
followed
Okay, so
by
you-
70 zeros.
You have a
So
lot of chances.
if you did the experiment 100 times and you're still here, the universe just whispered its deepest secret to you. Yes, you killed hundreds of versions of yourself.
I was about to say, this is like a Rick and Morty episode. You just offed 100 versions of yourself to prove yourself right.
But you now know for sure that the many worlds are true, because you are still here experiencing things, and that you're kind of immortal. Okay, well, all that might be a bit overwhelming. Let's break it down again. The cosmic secret. If every possible quantum process always happens in some branch, then this doesn't only mean that there are almost, but not quite, infinite versions of you, but there's always a you that gets insanely lucky. A tumor
True.
starts, but a cosmic ray kills it before it spreads. A bolt of lightning strikes at you, but a quantum fluke makes it miss by a meter. A washing machine falls from a roof, but all its atoms quantum tunnel through your body. No matter how extremely high the likelihood is that you'll die, there may always be a branch in which you survive. So, should you start wingsuit flying today? Well, not so fast. For every version of you that survives, bazillions don't. And all those versions of you are just as real as you are right now watching this video. So if you care about the current version of yourself, you should care just as much about all the versions still waiting to be and their loved ones. In other words, if you see a washing machine falling, better move away and save as many of your versions as you can. The more universes exist with you in them, the better. Your existence makes the universe richer. And there's another good reason to move. While the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics feels beautiful and elegant, that doesn't make it true. We don't know if it's true, and so far no literary critic sat on a nuke to risk being wrong. If the shut up and calculate people are right, there is just one world, just one version of you. And if the washing machine hits you, you are done for. But wouldn't this be nice to know? If the many worlds idea is true, then no matter how unlucky you get, you will always know that somewhere you are lucky.
It is a very interesting way of thinking, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it could possibly be that it's like that. It's like when Rick and Morty did that episode. I always like go back to Rick and Morty with certain things, but I guess it makes the most sense, and it kind of like adds kind of a realism to it because you get to see it in practice. But when he gets the saving in place episode where he saves himself in place, but all he does is actually go to a different universe or different like multiverse type deal, and then he like uses them, so like he's actually killing hundreds of versions of himself every single time, and he's just going back to his base reality. It is like kind of like that. It is pretty interesting overall. And I mean, could it be possible? Yes. Am I going to test the theory? I don't think so. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I am going to test that theory. But at the same time, it's like the risk is, I mean, not so much the risk actually. What I'm going to say is, like, are you still immortal, right? Because let's say you get to 110, right? And you're at 110. And does that mean billions of you are at 110? And if billions of you are at 110, then does that mean you just live forever, right? Are you just going to keep growing old until you're 1,000 years old? You're not even able to move anymore? How does that work, you know? I don't understand certain factors like that, but at the same time, I guess there is supposed to be open for, like, you know, some idealism in there, I guess, or I don't know, like some way of kind of making an estimated guess. But it is interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, because I'd be interested in seeing what you guys have to hear. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, come on. There could be a billion of you out there, and it's only you that can hit that subscribe button. So, if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout. In quantum computing, let's talk about it real quick. Do you guys know what quantum computing is? Because quantum computing is so out of this world, and it is so uncomprehendable that it's like, how do you even grasp that? How do you grasp that? So today, we're going to be answering the question with this video, Quantum Computers Explained, Limits of Human Technology. Let's lock in. It's time to get 1% smarter.
For most of our history, human technology consisted of our brains, fire, and sharp sticks. While fire and sharp sticks became power plants and nuclear weapons, the biggest upgrade has happened to our brains. Since the 1960s, the power of our brain machines has kept growing exponentially, allowing computers to get smaller and more powerful at the same time. But this process is about to meet its physical limits. Computer parts are approaching the size of an atom. To understand why this is a problem, we have to clear up some basics.
Gotta clear up them basics. Let's lock in. Let's go.
A computer is made up of very simple components doing very simple things, representing data, the means of processing it, and control mechanisms. Computer chips contain modules, which contain logic gates, which contain transistors.
I'm already lost. I'm not gonna lie. Circuit chip equals basic modules equals logic gates equals transistors. Okay, I'm back in.
Transistor is the simplest form of a data processor in computers, basically a switch that can either block or open the way for information coming through.
That makes sense.
This information is made up of bits, which can be set to either 0 or 1.
0 or 1, got it.
Combinations of several bits are used to represent more complex information. Transistors are combined to create logic gates, which still do very simple stuff. For example, an AND gate sends an output of 1 if all of its inputs are 1, and an output of 0 otherwise. Combinations of logic gates finally form meaningful modules, say for adding two numbers. Once you can add, you can also multiply, and once you can multiply, you can basically do anything. Since all basic operations are literally simpler than first-grade math, you can imagine a computer as a group of 7-year-olds answering really basic math questions. A large enough bunch of them could compute anything from astrophysics to Zelda. However, with parts getting tinier and tinier, quantum physics are making things tricky. In a nutshell, a transistor is just an electric switch. Electricity is electrons moving from one place to another, so a switch is a passage that can block electrons from moving in one direction. Today, a typical scale for transistors is 14 nanometers, which is about 8 times less than the HIV virus's diameter and 500 times smaller than a red blood cell's.
It's that
As
small?
transistors are shrinking to the size of only a few atoms, electrons may just transfer themselves to the other side of a blocked passage via a process called quantum tunneling. In the quantum realm, physics works quite differently from the predictable ways we're used to, and traditional computers just stop making sense. We are approaching a real physical barrier for our technological progress. To solve this problem, scientists are trying to use these unusual quantum properties to their advantage by building quantum computers. In normal computers, bits are the smallest units of information. Quantum computers use qubits, which can also be set to one of two values. A qubit can be any two-level quantum system, such as a spin in a magnetic field or a single photon. 0 and 1 are this system's possible states, like the photon's horizontal or vertical polarization. In the quantum world,
Why can it only be 2 bits? Why can't you do more than 2 bits? Why does it limit you to 2 bits? What if we had 4 bits? What if we had 3 bits? Like, does anybody know? Does anybody understand that? Because, like, I just don't understand why it's only 2 bits. I know, like, because photos are made up of zeros and ones, right? Like, that's what they say is, like, you know, you think about it like the Matrix, right? He starts seeing everything in zeros and ones. And it makes sense, but at the same time, why is it only 0 and 1s? That's what I don't understand.
the qubit doesn't have to be in just one of those, it can be in any proportions of both states at once. This is called superposition. But as soon as you test its value, say by sending the photon through a filter, it has to decide to be either vertically or horizontally polarized. So as long as it's unobserved, the qubit is in a superposition of probabilities for 0 and 1, and you can't predict which it will be. But the instant you measure it, it collapses into one of the definite states. Superposition is a game changer. 4 classical bits can be in one of 2 to the power of 4 different configurations at a time. That's 16 possible combinations, out of which you can use just one. 4 qubits in superposition, however, can be in all of those 16 combinations at once. This number grows exponentially with each extra qubit. 20 of them can already store 1,000,000 values in parallel.
Damn, how do people make this? Like, how do they know, like, yo, let's do this? What drives a human to be like, yo, let's do this? Like, I don't understand technology to begin with, right? I don't understand how you take nothing and make a smartphone. But not only how you take nothing to make a smartphone, then you make it be able to look up Google. And then you make it be able to look up YouTube. I don't understand that part. I don't understand wireless internet. I don't understand that either. But it's like, it's like, now it's like, okay, now we're going to get to the quantum realm. We're on some Ant-Man stuff. Like, what?
A really weird and unintuitive property qubits can have is entanglement, a close connection that makes each of the qubits react to a change in the other's state instantaneously, no matter how far they are apart. This means that when measuring just one entangled qubit, you can directly deduce properties of its partners without having to look. Qubit manipulation is a mind-bender as well. A normal logic gate gets a simple set of inputs and produces one definite output. A quantum gate manipulates an input of superpositions, rotates probabilities, and produces another superposition as its output. So a quantum computer sets up some qubits, applies quantum gates to entangle them and manipulate probabilities, and finally measures the outcome, collapsing superpositions to an actual sequence of zeros and ones. What this means is that you get the entire lot of calculations that are possible with your setup all done at the same time. Ultimately, you can only measure one of the results, and it will only probably be the one you want, so you may have to double-check and try again. But by cleverly exploiting superposition and entanglement, this can be exponentially more efficient than would ever be possible on a normal computer. So while quantum computers will probably not replace our home computers, in some areas they are vastly superior. One of them is database searching. To find something in a database, a normal computer may have to test every single one of its entries. Quantum algorithms need only the square root of that time, which for large databases is a huge difference. The most famous use of quantum computers is ruining IT security. Right now, your browsing, email and banking data is being kept secure by an encryption system in which you give everyone a public key to encode messages only you can decode. The problem is that this public key can actually be used to calculate your secret private key. Luckily, doing the necessary math on any normal computer would literally take years of trial and error. But a quantum computer with exponential speedup could do it in a breeze. Another really exciting new...
So quantum computers can just hack all your stuff is what they're saying within a matter of seconds. What it would normally take somebody, let's say, a month to a year to do, this is doing it in seconds. That is insane. Have you seen the size of a quantum computer? That's another thing to talk about. The size of a quantum computer is humongous, dude. That's gigantic and humongous together. Like, come on. That is crazy how big they are. They're like the size of a chandelier if a chandelier was massive. Like, oh my God. I heard something recently about that they were able to do time travel using, maybe not using a quantum computer, but finding out stuff, and they were able to go back 1 second. I don't know if that's real. Let me know if you guys heard about that, and if that's real. I saw it on TikTok, so it's probably not real, but at the same time, that'd be really cool if it was real. I'm just throwing it out there. Even 1 second, because technically if they make time travel, that means time travel is made now. Unless if it only can go back 1 second. I don't know how it works.
Use is simulations. Simulations of the quantum world are very intense on resources, and even for bigger structures, such as molecules, they often lack accuracy. So why not simulate quantum physics with actual quantum physics? Quantum simulations could provide new insights on proteins that might revolutionize medicine. Right now, we don't know if quantum computers will be just a very specialized tool or a big revolution for humanity. We have no idea where the limits of technology are, and there's only one way to find out. This video is...
So, my whole thing is, right, with quantum computers, is it something that we're going to actually be able to purchase? And people have said that in the past with other stuff, though. They've been like, oh, you know, our computer's something we're going to be able to purchase, right? I'm sure when cars came out, they were like, are those going to be something we're able to purchase, right? But like, is it going to be like the first amount that come out are going to be like large quantities that are multi-millions of dollars that everybody's like not going to be able to buy, maybe the top 1%, and then finally like they drop in price and then like, you know, everybody else is able to buy them? Or is it going to be something where they're going to be able to make it cheap? I doubt they're going to be able to make it cheap. And like, would they want standard people to have that? Like, those are the other questions. It's just like, I don't know if it's one of those things that will be extremely beneficial to like an everyday person rather than like a huge, large company or medical research and stuff like that. It's a very interesting. Quantum computing is very next level. It is very next level. This is only like probably the tip of the iceberg with quantum computing. It is pretty insane. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any ideas or anything about quantum computing that you know that you want to share, write them in the comments. I would love to read about it. But with that being said, thank you guys so much. If you guys haven't already, absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but come on. Don't make me quantum compute you to have to do this, right? It's okay. You can do it in a matter of 1 second, as fast as a quantum computer. And that is hitting that subscribe button. Because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe. Join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout. And imagine if an asteroid was coming to end humanity. Would we be able to stop it? Now think about that question real quick, because are we even advanced enough to stop an asteroid? I mean, could we send out some sort of missile to blow it up into smaller pieces so then there would be like a rain shower of little asteroids? How would we go about that? Well, today we're going to be figuring out that question. That's right. Today we're going to be watching, can humanity stop a planet-killing asteroid? It's time to lock in, and it's time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
Imagine, a stadium-sized asteroid is going to hit Earth in 2 weeks. Even at this moderate size, a fireball brighter than the sun tears through the atmosphere at 60 times the speed of sound, and the destructive power of 4,000 Hiroshima bombs flattens cities, killing millions.
Yeah,
this isn't science fiction. Many killer asteroids were only spotted at the last moment. In 2019, asteroid OK, as big as a 30-story building, was discovered just 1 day before it grazed Earth closer than some of our satellites.
They named
Last
an asteroid
year, the even
OK?
larger asteroid MK was spotted 13 days before it passed us closer than the Moon. If they'd have hit Earth, they would have unleashed the destructive power of 3,000 and 9,000 Hiroshima bombs.
Oh, wow.
Stunningly enough, humanity doesn't really have a plan for this. Scientists have devised all kinds of tricks to push dangerous asteroids away, painting it so sunlight will deflect it, landing thrusters to steer it, scorching it with lasers, or even crashing spacecraft into it. But they all have a big problem. They're the equivalent of trying to deflect a cargo ship by throwing a bag of potatoes at it.
What would painting it really do? Hold up, what would painting that really do? Deflect sunlight, okay, but how does that stop anything from the impact?
They do move the asteroid, but only by a tiny bit. With these methods, you need to act years or even decades in advance to make an asteroid miss the Earth. But very recently, scientists have developed a new, spectacular way to destroy killer asteroids that we could implement with today's technology.
Oh, really?
Let's see how this works with our 100-meter asteroid heading for Earth. The secret weakness of asteroids. For a long time, people imagined asteroids as being gigantic stones made of rock and metal. But it turns out most of them aren't like that. They're more like bags of loosely packed gravel, heaps of pebbles, precious minerals, and dust barely held together, which means that instead of just nudging them, we can do something better: pulverize them. And the obvious choice is, of course, a nuke. So let's go. We load up a nuclear warhead, launch, aim at our deadly asteroid, and... oh, the asteroid destroyed the nuke. Asteroids can approach Earth at 70,000 kilometers an hour, enough to cross the Atlantic in 5 minutes. No bomb we've ever made could survive such an impact. So if we go for a head-on collision, the asteroid will wreck the nuke before it even has a chance to explode. Okay, easy. Let's explode the bomb before it touches the asteroid. Scientists have estimated the optimal distance, which for our 100-meter killer friend would be a few tens of meters above the surface. Launch, set the timer, and... the explosion has made a dramatic crater and nothing else. Unfortunately, in space there's no air to carry a shockwave, so most of the explosion's energy is lost. The rock will still hit us in 2 weeks, only a few kilometers to the left. Striking such a behemoth with a nuke is like hitting our cargo ship with a washing machine instead of potatoes. Better, but still useless. Okay, let's go the movie route. Land someone on the asteroid, drill a hole, and bury a nuke inside to avoid all of these problems. And indeed, this is possible in theory, albeit suicidal in practice. Landing on any space body is a nightmare. Even on fairly big Mars, whose surface we know almost perfectly, roughly 70% of our attempts have failed. So imagine the chances of landing a crew and a nuclear bomb on a small and extremely fast asteroid discovered just 2 weeks in advance. Even if we succeeded, drilling in microgravity is painfully slow since there's no downward pull to help you.
How soon would we know if an asteroid was actually going to hit, though? Would we actually know, like, extremely soon? Because he's saying, like, a few, like, tens of years, right? But if it's a few tens of years, are we actually even looking that far out? I mean, probably, but how would we know that the trajectory was going to be? I'm sure there's a way to actually figure that out. But how soon would we actually know is my question.
So we'd need an agonizing amount of time that we don't have. So sadly, that's not the answer. We have to think less like Hollywood and more like a lumberjack. The smart way. If you want to split a log, you don't hit it with a rock. You use an axe, a dense and perfectly shaped tool designed to break things apart. And just in the same way, scientists have found a new tool to destroy asteroids: super dense, ultra-fast cosmic bullets. We won't
Oh.
even have to shoot them. Our cosmic bullets are called penetrators. A few meters long, slim and made of tungsten, a metal way denser and harder than rock. They work in an extremely simple way. You just put the penetrators in the way of the asteroid to float silently in space. From the perspective of the asteroid, you wouldn't see a few tiny bullets sitting still. You'd see them rushing at you at 70,000 kilometers an hour. It doesn't matter who stands still and who's fast. But this speed means that by far the longest part of this mission is to get to the asteroid in time. We can't destroy it too close to Earth because its fragments will slam into the atmosphere all at once with the power of thousands of nuclear bombs. Our atmosphere can absorb isolated chunks, but if thousands of them strike together, their shockwaves will add up and kill millions. So instead, we need to get it one day before impact, when the asteroid will be nearly 2 million kilometers away, more than 4 times further than the Moon. A vast distance, but doable. Our current rockets can cover this in about a week. We'll just send one penetrator about 2 meters long and weighing 2.5 tons. Once our rocket arrives, it puts the penetrator in place to cause maximum damage, and then we wait. A tiny speck of light appears in the vast distance, and then suddenly it's here, shooting at us faster than the speed of sound. We'll slow down time to see exactly what happens. The asteroid crashes into the penetrator so fast and with so much violence that the power of 120 metric tons of TNT is released into the asteroid. The rock vaporizes and the tungsten melts away, carving a wound that tunnels through the asteroid. The damage is too much, and with all of this energy looking for a place to go, the asteroid is blasted into thousands of pieces. The debris spreads out into a diffuse cloud. A day later, the fragments hit Earth, dispersed over hundreds of thousands of square kilometers and turning an apocalypse into a mostly harmless show of cosmic fireworks.
So if we have the sources to get past the Moon in a week, right? Why haven't we gone back to the Moon? That's my question. What's going on there, huh? What's going on?
If we prepare and get everything ready, spotting a killer asteroid with 2 weeks' notice would be enough. But this was just a small asteroid. What if we face a cosmic mountain, a planet killer carrying the destructive power of tens of thousands of nuclear arsenals? The non-avian dinosaurs would tell you about it, but they're dead. What if it is a planet killer? Planet killers are objects so vast and powerful that they would end most life on Earth in a single strike. The most dangerous ones are comets from the outer fringes of the solar system, so distant and dark that tracking them is impossible. Comets are dirty ice balls the size of mountains, more fragile than pure rock, but also much faster and violent, traveling at around 140,000 kilometers per hour. In 2020, the comet Neowise, with the power of 6,000 times all the nuclear bombs on Earth, was discovered just 4 months before its closest approach to Earth. What if we find such a beast 6 months before it's going to crash into us? Do we have a chance of surviving this? Unfortunately, this would be extremely hard for a bunch of reasons. First of all, our planet-killer comet has so much more mass than a tiny killer asteroid that simply breaking it into millions of pieces would not help us that much. The chunks that hit Earth would still be massive and numerous enough to set the sky ablaze and kill most life on Earth. So we need to make most, if not all of its fragments completely miss Earth. But to do that, we need to destroy it much further away, as far away as Mars.
Damn. So we'd be sending that all the way out to Mars instead of just like, I mean, yeah, there's really no other way to do it. But we would have to have our technology so far advanced for that. Like, if that happened within the next 10 years, I don't think we would have enough, would we? I mean, we haven't even... We put, like, a rover on Mars. I don't know how long it took for the rover to get on Mars. Are they sending any people out to Mars anytime soon? I haven't been up to date on the schematics for it. I haven't really touched in with them yet. But, like, are they sending people to Mars soon? Let me know.
And to destroy a mountain, we need way more penetrators. Hundreds of thousands. And this is, well, a huge problem. To travel this far and to transport this much payload, we need at least 24,000 super heavy rockets. As of today, humanity has 2. And they're not really finished yet.
That's it?
Even if all the industries in the world do nothing but switch to building rockets, we wouldn't finish in time. If we actually discovered a planet killer today, there's literally nothing we could do about it. Except, maybe if we combine penetrators with a bit of Hollywood and our old friend the nuclear bomb, there is still a way. For this plan to work, we basically need to have all the parts ready beforehand. A rocket like NASA's SLS, the one planned to take astronauts to the moon, loaded up with everything we need, ready to launch. As soon as the planet killer is spotted on its way to wipe us out, we launch a single rocket to meet it. For 5 long months, it travels through the nothingness of space as life on Earth nervously continues. Finally, it reaches its destination a bit beyond the orbit of Mars. Now, we deploy 5 massive penetrators in sequence, one perfectly lined up 2 kilometers after the other. The engineering challenge of aligning and timing this correctly is horrendous, and we only have one attempt. So, a few very brave astronauts go on this one-way trip to supervise the process with no way home.
It's like Armageddon.
Nervous hours pass as all of humanity watches the skies and screens. And then the moment comes. The icy mountain of death appears in full, and then it's already here. Slow down time again. The comet smashes into the first penetrator at 140,000 kilometers an hour, unleashing the power of 2,000 tons of TNT. Ice, rock, and tungsten liquefy in an instant as the energy of the impact eats itself dozens of meters deep into the mountain. Here's the second one, perfectly hitting the same spot, punching directly into the crater, smashing, melting, drilling. The third and fourth penetrators repeat the process again, now smashing a tunnel about 100 meters deep. But this time, this is just a scratch on the surface of the monster. The comet is not really damaged yet. And then comes the final penetrator and its toxic load. 300 megatons in nuclear warheads, 20,000 times more energy than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. It travels deep into the tunnel, and just before it hits the end, it explodes. This time, the nuke works. Instead of hitting nothing.
That would be crazy, because you're taking, like... it's so crazy to think that, like, Hollywood sometimes has the answers, right? It's like they use something that was like a schematic for a movie, and they actually could take it and use it as a real thing. I mean, potentially, right? It could still be not, it still might not work. But, like, while all that would be happening, we'd just be sitting here like, well, still got to go to work. Like, what would actually happen to the world if they were told, like, hey, you probably got about 6 months left? Would people still be going to their jobs and stuff like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. We'll probably be fine. Or would people, like, actually start, like, would you actually see a difference? That's my question. I wonder how that would actually look out.
In the vacuum, the energy of the explosion smashes into rock and gravel and ice. On top of vaporizing it from the inside, there's so much shock and push and punch that a frozen world billions of years old dies from within, turning into a cloud of millions of fragments spreading in all directions. Humanity is saved. To make this happen in reality would take unprecedented planning and precision, and yet it's possible. Not in a century with sci-fi technology, just with the rockets, engineering, and knowledge we already have today.
It is interesting to think about that, like how we do have the technology for that. It kind of bears the question, what other technology that we are unaware of that we could have? That is a big question to actually ask. Because if this is something that we can feasibly do, what else can we actually do? Can we travel the speed of light with just, stuff from Earth? Maybe we go to Mars, and maybe we find stuff on Mars that allows us to. Because Mars probably has a bunch of different ores that we've never even had before, potentially, right? A bunch of resources. But then how do we get those back? Because then you have to at least make something here that can go there and back, or you'd have to make something there that can go back, but, like, will there be enough people on there? It's crazy to think about that. Imagine being the first person on Mars. Imagine everything that could go wrong. Like, think of the Mars movie with, I think, Matt Damon it was. And, like, I mean, he ended up surviving, and they ended up sending, like, a spaceship around it to kind of rocket ship it back and kind of, like, catapult swing it back. But it's like, imagine being one of the first people on a brand new planet. I can't imagine the moon if that was real. But I can't imagine the moon because, the moon's a 50-50. Some people say it's real. Some people say it's not. I'm not here to testify on that. I'm not here to talk about that. But it's just like that thought process of that. And, like, you have to know everything to do. And you have to hope that it all works out. It is crazy to think. And it's even crazier that, like, one day that Mars might be, like, inhabited. Potentially, you know, you never know until I guess the time comes. I mean, there's that theory, the Adam and Eve theory, which I don't know if I've mentioned on here, but the Adam and Eve theory, it's really cool. It's like the Mars was gonna get attacked by a like asteroid like this or something, or it was like something, I don't remember fully what it was. It might have been just like global warming or something like that. And then they send an they send off a pod with a guy named Adam and a girl named Eve, and the pod goes over to Earth and crash lands, and that is the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It's a crazy thought process, and then they come out after being in like hypersleep or something. I'm not too aware of what happened, but it's like that thought process right there. Because you know what? Could it be real? Potentially. Could it not be? I mean, most likely. But you know, you can't say it isn't true because nobody was there. That's the craziest part. But anyways, at least you guys were here for this. And now you guys know that there is a way to stop a planet-killing asteroid. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. And honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, dude, you don't got to worry about an asteroid, and you won't have to worry about a lot more. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout, and today we are going to be answering a weird question. Where do you think you are right now? Well, you would probably say, I'm watching this video. I'm sitting in a chair, a couch, a bed. Maybe I'm sitting at work. Maybe I'm at school. Maybe I'm at the movie theaters before the movie's starting, and I'm just like waiting, and I'm trying to kill time, and I saw this video and I thought it was really cool. Right? Wherever you are not where you think you are. And that's what this video is titled. You are not where you think you are. So wherever you are right now, it is not what you're thinking, and it is not where you are. I don't really know what that means, but I guess we're going to find out. It's time to lock in, and it is time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
Look around you. Where are you? Where is
In my
this
room.
place you're occupying? Somewhere in a room, maybe in a city, on a continent, on a planet orbiting a star in a galaxy among billions.
Okay.
But where is all of that? While this may feel like a daft question, it turns out that the concept of an absolute position is something humans made up. In a nutshell, the universe is a big bag of space that has things in it. If someone removed all these things, the stars and planets and black holes and dust, there would just be empty space left. In empty space,
Fair.
the concept of having a position loses all meaning. Empty space is uniform, the same everywhere. The space we occupy is not like a stage under our feet. We can't mark specific points or staple something to space-time as an anchor. Without things, there is no position. We are really ever only at a position in relation to something else. Which also means that things we take for granted, like up and down, are actually relative too. Okay, let's fill the universe up with things again and try to find out where you are right now, relative to everything else.
So we're not on Earth? We're not in the Milky Way galaxy? What?
Let's start this video at a familiar place and then get increasingly weird.
Okay.
From your perspective, the world is seemingly flat and you can move in 3 dimensions.
Whoa, in a nutshell, is flat earther confirmed.
It's what physicists call a frame of reference, the perspective you have of the universe and how you see things moving around you, where your up and down is. Your frame of reference is correct for you, but not for the rest of the universe. Around 5 kilometers from you, where the horizon begins, the ground noticeably curves away from you. If you could see through the ground, you'd see people from below or sideways.
That would
But
be
they don't fall
insane.
down off the planet because gravity doesn't actually pull them down. Down is an illusion of your reference frame. To Earth's reference frame, gravity just pulls in. But for humans there is an up and down because within our frame of reference that just makes sense. Which is also why we think that the planet itself has an up and down, north and south, and we made our maps accordingly. But an observer looking at the solar system might disagree. Our maps make sense to us because we're used to them, not because they are correct. Okay, so this is step 1. your position on what feels like a flat surface but is actually a sphere.
So, in a sense, we could be upside down in the solar system right now and have no idea because we perceive it as we are right side up. Like, in reality, if you're above the equator, you're like, oh, I'm above the equator, I'm up, I'm north, versus being below the equator, being south. But in reality, everything could be reversed, so the sun could be actually below us swinging, and we're actually upside down, which technically, yeah, very true.
But this sphere is always moving, never staying in one position. Earth is orbiting a star, the Sun, at the center of the solar system. While we usually imagine this as pretty orderly, someone looking at us from the outside would see something pretty messy. To see this more clearly, we'll exaggerate all these movements. This is not to scale. First of all, our orbit really is an ellipse, so we spend half the year sinking a little bit closer to the Sun, speeding up, and half the year rising up a bit and slowing down.
Okay.
And the ellipse itself changes its shape every 100,000 years too. And in another cycle of 112,000 years, the ellipse itself is drifting, which at least creates a beautiful shape. In the end, we get an orbital path that looks like a wobbly circle with wavy edges. And it gets worse as the moon now starts to mess things up too. As the moon is a pretty massive thing, it pulls on Earth. Both objects orbit their common center of gravity that lies around 4,700 kilometers off to the side of Earth's core. In practice, this means that as the moon orbits Earth, it's jerking Earth around a bit, enough to make it jiggle. Okay, so you're standing on the surface of a rotating planet that is jiggling around the Sun in an elliptical orbit that changes a bit every year. But who's to say the Earth is right? From the perspective of the Sun, the plane of the solar system is arbitrary. It's defined as the plane the Earth orbits in because that is convenient for us. In reality, the other planets are just a little bit inclined with respect to our plane. From their point of view, we're the ones with a slightly bent orbit. But this isn't it, far from it. The solar system as a whole is orbiting the center of the Milky Way galaxy. If we look at the Milky Way, we can clearly make out a galactic plane in which the solar system orbits the center every 230 million years. But
It's really crazy to think that, like, it's like us in a galaxy, in a solar system, in a universe, and we're just floating, and we're just one step of a circular system. We're like a factory system that just is on repeat every single day. And it's just going around, or in this case, multi-millions of years. And we're just sitting here, and it's just like our turn as the mold on the piece of bread. Like, it is so crazy to think about stuff like that. And, like, technology, bro, what is this? Like, I'm looking into a camera talking right now. How is that even made? How does this even publish? How does any of this even happen? And it's like, we're just, like, slowly going through this at a rapid pace, excelling to the point where, like, that's why I feel like there has to be other life. You know what I'm saying? There has to be, because if it's so big, right? Just in this, look at this. This right here, we're like a pixel on the screen, not even a pixel on the screen in this photo. Like, we're like, what? This is our solar system right here. So, like, we're like a little tiny dot in that solar system. Look at everything else. You can't tell me that there's nothing else out there. I want to know if people think that there's nothing else out there, why they think that. Let me know.
of course, it's not that simple. First of all, the plane of the solar system is not aligned with the plane of the galaxy. Nothing really is. Just like the planets in the solar system orbit the Sun on their own planes, so do all the stars orbiting the galactic center. The solar system as a whole is tilted about 60 degrees towards the galactic plane, speeding through space at almost 1,000,000 kilometers per hour. Someone in the center of the galaxy would see the orbits of the planets moving through space in a helix shape, which you can imagine as a corkscrew motion on the tilted plane of the solar system relative to the plane of the galaxy. This orientation in space means that sometimes the planets are sort of in front of the Sun as it orbits around the galactic core. Let's just look at this for a moment. There is a strange and eerie beauty about how our planets and the Sun move through space. Do you feel a bit dizzy? It gets worse.
No.
This is still not the whole story, because the mass of the galactic disk is constantly pulling on the solar system too. Like a drunk dolphin, we're diving down and shooting up hundreds of light years through the galactic plane 10 times every orbit along arcs thousands of light years long. We haven't mapped this motion out completely, as it takes the solar system tens of millions of years to go up and back once, and well, humanity is not that old. Let's look at your relative position again. On a planet tilted towards the sun, jiggled around by the moon, in a solar system tilted towards the galactic plane, moving forward in a helical shape, diving up and down through the plane. But where is up in a galaxy? At this point, the frame of reference becomes a bit arbitrary and pointless because of the nature of the universe at this scale. The Milky Way is part of a galaxy group that appears to be part of greater structures like the Laniakea supercluster, which itself is part of the gigantic Pisces-Cetus supercluster complex, and finally a galactic filament that spans hundreds of millions of light years in all directions and orientations.
That looks like it's veins in a body. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like the entire universe is just like, we're just like a cell. Even if it's a cell, we could be an atom at that point. And like, this just looks like you zoom into a person's body and you see all like the veins and stuff. And it's like, that's what this looks like. It looks like that to an extent. And we don't even know if this is truly out there. This is just a speculation, right? Because we've never been that far out there. But like, if that is the case, are we just like a cancer on somebody? Are we just like a virus to somebody that's like slowly, like, you know, if we actually grew and we went out, we start like, you know, destroying this person's body? Is that the case? Like, think about that. Are we just like a virus in general to some bigger being, and if we are the only life, or if there's like multiple lives out there where there's like different species of like beings and aliens and such, are we all just gonna like collectively become this big cell that like turns into like a tumor for this being, whether it be like, you know, just another person but like in a whole different like fourth dimensional being or something like that? Like, is that how it's gonna be? It is really crazy to think about things like that.
Someone looking right at us from that far away will only see the end of greatness. All stuff appears homogeneous, the same everywhere. Just like with empty space, when everything looks the same, who's to say anyone's view is better than anyone else's? We've reached the end of our little exercise in cosmic humility. Let's make the journey backwards again, from the indescribably large to the really large to our galactic home, to our galaxy, to the solar system diving up and down through the Milky Way, to the jiggle of existence. And finally, back to you right now, watching this video.
It's so crazy.
If this is all a bit much, don't feel bad. The scale of the universe is brain-crushing, and trying to keep track of how everything is oriented or decide where the best up and down is hard. But it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't change where you are. You're already in the best spot you possibly could be, right here, right now. For all you care, nothing can stop you from being right at the center of your own little universe.
I mean, it's very true.
Look around you.
Very true. Like, when you think about like the universe in general, like, where was it? Like, even here, this isn't even like the most like pulled back version, right? But like, when you think about the universe in general, like, people are like, oh, you're 1 in 7 billion. Like, you are 1 in 7 billion. But you know what the odds of you being 1 in 7 billion? The odds of you being here is impossible. And like, you know, you made it here. That's the thing. That's like the beauty of life, is like the odds of actually being born is so much greater to nothing than it is to actually being born. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson came out and he was talking about like how many people could have like been born, and it was so much more astronomical than what it actually is. So, you know, it is one of those things to where, like, you know, thinking about it is very interesting, especially like sitting here and like, you know, being able to look out and like, you know that other stuff is going on, whether it be aliens, whether it be, you know, anything sort of in any sense as you can take it. It's like, it's really interesting to think that, like, you know, you're sitting here right now for it. And, you know, is the timing perfect? Does the timing, you know, does the timing suck? You know, do you want to go space travel? Do you want to, you know, remember what life was before the internet? I mean, there's so many different options, but like, you know, you really, it's really interesting to sit here and, you know, have the knowledge to at least be able to think about what is going on out there and what will go on out there. And like, you know, maybe one day it will know. Maybe one day we won't know. Maybe we won't ever get to the point of knowing because we get wiped out like the dinosaurs or something. I don't know. But It's just crazy to think about how big the universe is in general, and we are just a small, small atom to everything. And the atoms are even smaller than us. Like, it's so wild to think about. Are we just all a mini universe walking around, and inside of us there's stuff like this going on, and in reality we're just part of the system? Like, who knows? It is really crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'd be really interested in hearing it out. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. And honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, dude, we're in a massive universe. So at least come along for the journey by hitting that subscribe button. Because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and today we're going to be talking about something that scares a lot of people. We're going to be talking about aging, growing old. Think about it. One day you're going to be 25. One day you're going to be 30. One day you're going to be 40. One day you're going to be 50. One day you're going to be 97, if you're lucky. But we're all going to age. We're all going to age, and then at some point we are all going to die. Why should we age? Why do we have to? I don't want to grow old. What? Ew, cringe. Like, you always chase your life, sitting there going, I can't wait until I'm older. And then when you're older, you're like, God, what an idiot. Let me go back. Let me go back. Like, God, hate it. Everything was so much better. Everything, you didn't have to worry about bills. You didn't have to worry about anything. But we're going to be watching Why Age? Should we end aging forever? Because why not? Why don't we just stop aging? It's pretty simple. You just stop doing it. Like, what? Let's just see what this video has to offer. It's time to lock in, and it is time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
If you had to choose right now, how long would you want to live? 80 years? 90? 120? Longer? And do you think you'll change your mind once you reach that age?
I don't know.
50,000 years ago, most humans died very young. As we learned how to use the resources around us to treat ourselves, this got better and better. Today, humans are living longer and healthier lives than ever before. But this has an unforeseen consequence. We spend an ever-increasing part of our lives being sick and in need of care. Most of us will die in a hospital bed, which is depressing enough by itself, but we also have to witness the same happening to our loved ones. Except...
Not me. Not me. I'm refusing to die in a hospital bed. I'm going to, like, do something cool. I don't know what. I don't know what yet, but I'm going to do something cool. I'll figure it out.
Maybe we can stop this forever. The most effective way to treat a disease is to prevent it. It saves many more lives if you stop a million people from smoking than coming up with better chemotherapies. So why not put a halt to the cause of all disease, the process of aging? In a nutshell, aging is caused by physics and not biology. Think of cars. Parts wear down from rubbing and grinding. Metal rusts, filters get plugged, rubber cracks. Our bodies are worn down by trillions of tiny physical processes. Oxygen, radiation from the sun, our metabolism. Our bodies have many mechanisms to repair this damage, but over time they become less effective. So our bones and muscles weaken, our skin wrinkles, our immune system gets weaker. We lose our memory and our senses diminish. There's no such thing as dying of old age. We all die because one of our important parts breaks. The older we get, the more damaged and fragile we become until one or multiple diseases take over and kill us. Unnoticed by most of us, longevity research has made some unprecedented advances in the last few years. For the first time, we're starting to understand the mechanisms behind aging and how to manipulate them.
See, it's cool and all, right? Like, imagine getting to the point where you don't die, right? Like, obviously, there's probably still going to be things that can kill you, but when it says end aging, are we still growing old and we can't die? Because I don't want to be 150 looking like a burlap sack, like, you know, just stuck in a chair. I don't want to do that. But, like, if I'm 150 and I'm, like, looking like this, oh, boy, sign me up. Like, what? That'd be sick. But at the same time, like, Do you really want to live forever? That's the question for today's comments. Do you guys really want to live forever? If you guys had the opportunity to live forever, right? Or die, I don't know, like, whatever you're supposed to. Which one would you pick? Because I know a lot of people go die tomorrow and live forever. I'm not going to go that crazy. Like, let's say if you're going to make it to 70, you make it to 70. Let's say if you're going to make it to 199, just 99, not the 100 part. You make it to 99. Like that kind of thing. Like, so just let me know what you guys think and which way you would rather have it. Would you rather live forever or would you rather just live to when you were supposed to live? Because I'm very interested in hearing people. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Because I feel like if I live forever, that'd be cool. But if I'd still want to be able to die. I think that's the problem. I think I would still want to be. I'm gonna yap for a second. I think I would still want to be able to die. So like, let's say if I got into like a really bad car accident or like I got like I don't know, like the Earth blew up. I don't want to be like floating out in space, just invincible and like I can never die. I still would want to be able to die. I just wouldn't want to, I guess, die from like aging in a sense, right? That makes sense because like, I feel like there has to be a point where like the earth is going to blow up and stuff, and like if you're just like invincible and you're just floating through space, I feel like that's torment. So why not just like, be able to die but just not from aging, and it's from like, I don't know, something careless or something stupid, like in general, like you go skydiving and like, the parachute rips, like some crazy thing like that, because like then it's like, okay, it was meant to be. But you just slam into the ground and you're just like, all right, I'm alive, but now I'm in a body cast because I can't move anything, but I'm alive. Like, what? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below because I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Aging is neither mystical nor inevitable, and we might be able to stop or delay it during your lifetime. We'll discuss the science behind it and how scientists are trying to stop it in another video. But first, if we could, should we end aging? Is this a good idea?
Overpopulation would be crazy.
The end of aging or life extension makes many people uncomfortable. We're born, are young, become older, and then we die. This has been the natural order for literally all of human history. And getting old is a good thing, right? We celebrate the idea of living long enough to experience old age. We even call them the golden years. But the reality is that everybody wants to become old, but nobody wants to be old. Think of the Greek myth of Tithonus, for example.
Facts.
Tithonus was the lover of the goddess Eos, and probably an amazing dude because she begged Zeus to grant him immortality so they could spend eternity together. But she forgot to specifically ask for eternal youth. Tithonus was granted eternal life, but he kept aging, unable to die. After a few hundred years, he was reduced to the size of a grape, babbling on senselessly forever. Thousands of years ago, humans already feared never-ending old age. But ending aging does not mean getting weaker and weaker. If you become too old, it's too late. A 90-year-old who stopped aging would die anyway after a few years. Too much damage has been done to his internal machinery. There are already too many surfaces for disease to attack. Instead, the concept of life extension promises to end diseases and with them, the end of a fixed maximum age. We don't know how much we could prolong our lives. We might make every human healthy to the currently accepted maximum age of around 120, or we might stop biological aging and disease indefinitely. Nobody knows at this point what's possible. Okay,
I don't know if that's
but
possible.
even if we
I don't
could
think
achieve
so.
that, should we? Well, life extension is really just another phrase for medicine. All the doctors are doing is trying to prolong life and minimize suffering. The vast majority of healthcare resources are spent on the consequences of aging.
Have you guys ever seen the clip of some guy? He's an owner of some company. I don't remember what the company was, and I don't remember his name. But he's like a vampire. He's like in his 40s or 50s, but he's like, oh, I have the liver of a 30-year-old, and I have like this, and like he spends his whole life just like trying to live longer. I don't know. It's kind of like very what's the word? I don't remember the word. But it's like it's very interesting, I guess. Just because he's spending his or counterintuitive? Dude, did I just unlock that? What? Hold up. I don't know if that's actually the right word, but that was a sick word. But it's very like weird. He spends his whole life trying to live longer. Think about that, right? Like instead of enjoying his life, he's got like millions upon almost probably billions of dollars because he's this company owner, and he's trying to live longer by like what, maybe 20 years. So he's going to spend his whole life living an extra 20 years. I don't know, that doesn't make sense to me. Like enjoy it while you have it. Obviously don't abuse it. Obviously don't take the extra steps, go down the rabbit hole, you know, hop into Wonderland and call it a day, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like you're spending your whole life just trying to live for an extra 20 years. After you get to that point, then are you going to just like, you know, go like start, I don't know, start living? Let me know if you guys have heard of this guy cuz I don't remember his name now, but I just always thought it was weird. Like you're working so hard and spending your entire life to live longer to what? Do nothing? To just do it as a science experiment? Like I don't understand it because like he's like, I wake up every day, I just eat vitamins all day, and I eat all this stuff, and I'm just like, dude, have a chocolate cake, dude. You're missing out. You're missing out. All right, let's get back in.
Nearly
I'm
half
yapping.
of your
I'm
lifetime
yapping.
healthcare costs will be spent during your senior years and another third during middle age. We are actually already trying to prolong life with our current medicine, we're just doing it very inefficiently. Trying to stop aging from happening is not less natural than transplanting a heart, treating cancer with chemotherapy, using antibiotics or vaccines. Nothing humans do nowadays is purely natural anymore, and we enjoy the highest standard of living ever as a consequence of that. What we're doing right now is waiting until it's too late and the machine is failing. And then we use the vast majority of our resources trying to fix it as well as we can, while it breaks down even further. But life extension still feels hubristic. Most people assume that they will want to die once they reach a certain age, and this might still be true. The idea of avoiding death entirely is off-putting for many. The end of biological aging would not mean the end of death in any way. It's more like a summer evening when you were a kid and your mum called you inside. You just wanted to keep playing, have a little more fun during sunset before you went to sleep. It's not about playing outside forever, just a little longer until we feel tired. If you imagine a world without disease where you and your loved ones could live in good health for another 100 or 200 years, how would this change us? Would we take better care of our planet if we knew we would be around longer? If we could work for 150 years, how much time would we spend figuring out what we're good at? How much more time would we spend learning? Would the intense feeling of pressure and stress many of us are feeling right now go away or get worse? So, asking again, if you could choose how long to live right now, in good health and with your friends and family, what's your personal answer? What would you like your future to look like?
I don't know. I don't know how long I'd want to live. You know, like if it depends on aging. It really depends on aging because like I don't want to be 200 years old, but I'm actually 200. If I'm 24 and I'm 200 years old, but I'm 24, that'd be sick. I wouldn't mind that. That'd be cool. I'd be so knowledgeable. But it is really difficult to think about. I don't know. The idea of death's scary, but at the same time, there's something about it that's like very mysterious. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting just because it's like there's so many questions surrounding it, and it's something that pretty much everybody, I mean, no, not pretty much, everybody, you know, deals with and goes through, which I know like kind of scares a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to accept that fact and they don't want to think about it. But I feel like potentially as you get older, you kind of accept the fact, and I feel like that's what a lot of people have trouble doing. Like, you know, a lot of people have like midlife crises and stuff, realizing that, and that's when they kind of like, did I accomplish everything I want to accomplish? Did I do everything I want to do? And yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, we're getting deep this episode. Oh my god, we're getting really deep. I was not expecting this. I was gonna make a few little like whippy jokes and stuff about like, you know, being alive forever. Now we dropping philosophical questions out here. What? This is crazy. Yeah, no, this is making me think. But it is really interesting to think about nonetheless. And yeah, don't think about it too much though, because you know what? Don't be worrying so much about the future when you're living right now. Obviously, don't go and do anything stupid that's gonna get you killed. But enjoy life. That's what I'm trying to say. enjoy life. But anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Hey, we only got one life out here. We only got one life. So, you only got one chance to hit that subscribe button. Actually, you have a lot of chances because I post 2 videos a day, but you only got one chance right now. You only got one chance during your life, and that's right now. So hit that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I'll see you all in the next video. I don't even know. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout, and have you guys ever thought to yourself, what is the last thing that is ever going to happen to the universe? Not even to Earth, to the universe. Are we going to see that? Right? Because there's a beginning. That means there has to be an end. Are we going to be around for the end? Maybe not us, but our humans? But are we going to evolve? Are we going to be gone by then? Is there going to be another universe, multi-universe? Maybe. Today we are going to be finding that out. We are getting 1% smarter when we watch the last thing to ever happen in the universe. Let's lock in and let's get 1% smarter.
The universe today is happy and healthy, with exciting things going on. But at some point, the night will turn dark. Everything that once was will peacefully sleep forever. But what is the last thing that will ever happen, and when will it be? It turns out there is such a thing, and you probably haven't heard about it. Let's travel to the end of the universe and look at the last thing.
All right, let's see it.
After a messy birth, our universe was a sleepy baby, warm and dark, filled with swirling clouds of hot hydrogen and helium. The story of creation is a story of this gas and where it will end up. Shortly after, the universe got busy making the first generation of stars. They were massive and lived violent lives, forging new elements, only to release most of them when they blew up. Countless stars were born and refined the gas available in the universe, cycling matter around, each generation giving most of its gas and fresh elements to the next. But not all gas is returned. Every time a new generation of stars forms, they also make more and more red dwarfs that burn slowly and live for trillions of years. When they die, they don't give their gas back to the universe, but turn it into white dwarfs. So red dwarfs lock up more gas forever. Some more gas is locked forever in other remains of dead stars, neutron stars and black holes, which is bad as it reduces the material available for new stars. Today, the universe is a great home for us and will remain so for billions of years. But most of the gas has been used up or trapped. Over 90% of the stars that will ever be born have been born already.
Yeah, I mean, every time you see stars in the sky, they're actually already dead, which is a crazy thought. Every star that you've seen in the sky is already dead. Think about that for a second, because that's how long it takes for that light to travel. It's insane to think about.
To get to the last thing to ever happen, all other things need to happen first.
True.
The next few hundred billion years will be fun and a great time for galactic exploration. But, step by step, large stars and stars like our Sun will die out. Eventually, almost all the stars will be red dwarfs slowly dying. The end of everything, but not quite. In a few trillion years, the cosmic gas will finally have run out. About 88% of the mass of every galaxy will be white dwarfs, 2% neutron stars and black holes, and about 10% gas giants and sad brown dwarf losers. White dwarfs are the corpses of all.
Why are you hating on the dwarf planets? What, dwarf losers? Why are you hating on the dwarf planets?
Not much bigger than Earth, but on average, as massive as half our Sun, some even much more. This makes them the third densest objects in the universe, after neutron stars and black holes. About 1 million times denser than the Sun today. Since they used to be active stars, their surface can be as hot as 150,000 degrees. White dwarfs are dim, hot, dense spheres that don't do anything anymore. But eventually, even white dwarfs will die because they're slowly losing their heat. It takes at least 10 trillion years, more than 700 times longer than the current age of the universe. As they do their cooling down, the universe around them will irreversibly grow dark, as more and more white dwarfs burn out and turn into dead husks, black dwarfs. Spheres of death, as cold as space itself, invisible against the dark backdrop. Over trillions and trillions of years, every object in every galaxy is eventually either ejected into the void or its orbit decays and it will fall into the central black hole and be destroyed. In about a quintillion years, all galaxies have evaporated and every object is on its own, in the center of its own observable universe, emptiness as far as can be seen in any direction, traveling through black nothingness.
So if we made, let's say, our own planet out of like materials, metals, and stuff, and we had our own sun kind of in it, would we be fine just like floating around in nothingness? Or would it be like, would we be screwed because we would just be kind of, I don't know how that works. I was going to say, like, would we not have enough power? But if it had sustainable power, right, and let's say it was forever giving power, would we kind of just be stuck in like an endless loop of just like a certain amount of people can be born, a certain amount of this, certain amount of that? Or would it be more of like we'd be fine and we could always make another one type deal, but would we even have the materials if everything is just into nothingness?
Still, there are things that will happen. Black holes are dying, slowly. They'll fizzle away by emitting Hawking radiation until they're so small that they die in a final flash of light. This will take about a googol years, 10 to the power of 100 years,
wow.
until the last supermassive black hole dies. A number so absurd, there's nothing to compare it to. Maybe some living beings could have survived around black holes, but even this science fiction option ends now. After this unsettling amount of time, we're not even close to the end. Now is the time of the black dwarfs. It turns out there's some weird physics going on inside the dead husk of stars. The weird physics of black dwarfs. A black dwarf is a sphere the size of Earth, as massive as a star, but almost as cold as absolute zero. Stars stay alive because of their intense heat in their cores. So why do black dwarfs not collapse into a black hole? What keeps them together? Deep inside a black dwarf, matter is squeezed to densities millions of times greater than anything we see on Earth. The pressure is so great that electrons can't combine with the nuclei to form atoms. Instead, matter is weird, degenerate. The nuclei are compressed by the weight of the star, locked into a rigid lattice, while the electrons form a plasma between them. And these electrons hold the star together. We're simplifying, but imagine matter as a subway train and electrons as passengers. If there are empty seats, passengers spread out because they care a lot about their personal space. But as a black dwarf is so incredibly dense, this is like squishing more and more passengers into our train. Gravity is pushing in, trying to collapse it. The passengers are forced to sit and stand close together, which they hate.
So
and
they're
so
like,
the passengers, our electrons, try to push out against gravity as hard as they can.
they're extremely
This way,
condensed.
the electrons that are having a horrible time in the crowded train that's the black dwarf hold up the star. Everything else in the universe may have crumbled already, but these tiny particles push against each other until the end of time. Or they would, if quantum mechanics didn't ruin everything.
Quantum
Simplifying
mechanics?
a lot, when particles get close
Oh
enough,
God, we're going down
sometimes
the
they
rabbit
can
hole
jump
now.
at each other and fuse together, a process called quantum tunneling. This happens constantly in stars because of their intense heat. It's one of the key reasons stars can fuse elements into new ones. But it also happens at a temperature near absolute zero, just, well, mind-numbingly slowly. This is the final step to creating the last interesting thing to ever happen in our universe.
See, I've heard theories that the Big Bang created everything, and there's going to be like a reverse Big Bang, that there's a certain point where it's going to elastify, and then it's going to suck back in until it's kind of like a reverse Big Bang. And then people are saying, well, if it reverse Big Bangs, then it has to like do whatever it's doing there, and then it comes back, and then it Big Bangs again, and everything's just a repeat. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that, but that might be a little something up there. You know what I'm saying? That might be a little logic. You know?
Here, in this lone black dwarf, something fantastic occurs. Nothing happens for 1 trillion years. Nothing at all. Can you imagine that?
Just a
But
trillion.
then, a single fusion reaction. 2 carbon nuclei combine by quantum tunneling to become magnesium. Another 100 trillion years pass.
Magnesium?
It happens again. Then nothing for another bazillion years.
Bazillion?
2 oxygen nuclei combine into silicon. As eons pass, the nuclei in the frozen black dwarf slowly combine, making new heavier nuclei. And these take even longer to fuse but given enough time, they eventually will.
Hold on, it's making ores. It's making ores and it's making like chemicals and stuff. Well, maybe not chemicals, but it's making like ores and like. So is it starting to recreate life again?
Remember the breathtaking amount of time it took for a supermassive black hole to evaporate? That's a brief moment in comparison to what's going on here. The difference between a second
Oh my
and
God.
trillions of years has lost all meaning.
What?
Over a time so absurd that it has no name, nuclei keep fusing into heavier elements. Until, when silicon nuclei fuse, they form nickel-56. Nickel-56 is radioactive, which means it's unstable. And when it eventually decays and turns into iron, it emits two positrons, antimatter electrons. And these two positrons find two electrons and annihilate them and themselves. Which is a problem. Remember how the uncomfortable electrons produce the pressure to hold the star together? Destroying the electron means fewer friends to help them hold up the star.
Damn,
Losing
so they're
an
coming
electron
in.
does not give them more space to scratch their butts, it just makes gravity squeeze harder, the walls closing in on those that remain. In
Damn,
the case of the most
suffocation.
massive black dwarfs, this is catastrophic. Bit by bit, the black dwarf turns into a sphere of iron, and more electrons are annihilated. For at least 10 to the power of 1,000 years, almost, but not quite forever, there's no visible change in the entire universe. And then, finally, the last thing to ever happen happens.
Here it
The
is.
black dwarf has lost one too many electrons. It can no longer support its immense mass and goes into an uncontrolled collapse, a supernova. It first
Oh,
implodes
snap.
and then explodes as bright as a galaxy and fills the empty universe with light again. A beautiful
causes the
moment
Big Bang, huh?
nobody will get to enjoy. And then, as quickly as it began, it's all over. Darkness again. Emptiness.
Oh. It didn't cause the
That
Big Bang?
was the last thing that will ever happen. The universe may now be truly dead. But don't be bummed out.
That was it? That's the last thing? It's just gone after that? I thought he was gonna say potentially would have started another Big Bang after all that.
About it. This is so far away in the future that forever hardly describes it. Today, the universe
It is a
the
long
best place
distance
it could
away.
be for us. And you can sleep tight tonight, knowing the last interesting thing that will ever happen is forever long away.
And imagine being around for that long. Oh my God, that's insane. Wait, is there more? Oh, it's advertisement stuff? Yeah, okay. So,
Truly,
like, if you think about the last thing to ever happen, right? And if you genuinely think about that, one, we don't know if that's, like, technically could be the last thing, right? I mean, if the universe is never ending spanning, right? If there's no limit to the simulation, then technically wouldn't it always be starting new somewhere else? Wouldn't it be? Like, we'd have to get to the point where, like, every time it's new, we have to keep recycling where it's new. And, like, everybody gets a few, maybe 100 million years there. But, like, is there actually going to be a limit on when the universe can end? I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any ideas or speculations in the comments, because it's very interesting to think about, you know, the end of times. And it's not just the Earth, it's all of time. Because the Earth's been around for extremely long, way longer than we've been around for, but at the same time, it has not been around longer than the entire universe. Like, at the center of the universe, we don't even know where the center of the universe is. I don't even know where we are on the map of the universe. Imagine that. We have a map of the United States. We have a map of the world. We don't even have a map of... I guess we do have a map of the solar system, but we don't even have a map of the universe. Like, imagine getting a map of the universe in. Oh my God, that'd be the craziest drop. But still, like, just thinking about what could happen at the end, it is really endless possibilities. And the fact that it's pretty much forever until it ends, like, is crazy to think. I wonder if humans will still be around by then and what they'll be doing, you know? Maybe it'll be robots. And if robots can live forever and, like, they could, like, let's say the Earth blows up and they go out into space and they can float around and not die. I wonder, like, if they go into a black hole, if they would just be crushed, because nobody knows what truly happens when you go into a black hole. It's very interesting to think about. But anyways, I'm going to leave that episode here. If you guys have any ideas of what potentially could happen, leave them in the comments down below. I'd be very interested in reading them. With that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. And you don't want to subscribe. You don't want to subscribe before the world ends. So luckily, you have right now to do so. That's right. I'm giving you right now because we have forever. So you might as well hop on the journey and you might as well enjoy the ride. Because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Whiteout. And have you guys ever thought, what is the future holding for us? That's right. What does the future hold? Not just for you, but for society, for humanity, for the human race, for civilization in general. Are we going to make it to 3,000 years from now? Are we going to make it to 6,000 years from now? Who knows, truly. Will we be around for it? Probably not. Let's be for real. I don't think we're going to be de-aging at any point. But imagine being the last human. Yeah, imagine that. Everybody else is gone and you're the last person to ever live. I don't know if that could be possible. I really don't know if that could be possible. Because if you think about it, it technically could be. It technically could be possible. But I feel like extinction or anything like that would be more potential. But today, we're going to be watching The Last Human, a glimpse into the far future. And that's right, far. You don't have to worry about it anytime soon. But it's time to get 1% smarter. Let's lock in.
The future of humanity seems insecure. Rapid climate change, political division, our greed and failings make it hard to look at our species with a lot of optimism, and so many people think our end is in sight. But humans have always thought they lived in the end times. Every generation assumes they're important enough to witness the apocalypse, and then life just goes on.
Facts.
This is a problem because it leads to short-term thinking
true.
and prevents us from creating the best world for ourselves and our descendants. What makes this worse is that we may actually be living at an extremely critical moment in human history. To understand why, let's look at the temporal window of humanity and ask, when will the last human be born? And how many people will there ever be? These sorts of estimates come with a lot of uncertainties, so please take them with a gigantic grain of salt. To get a sense of how many people there will be, let's see how many people have already lived. Modern humans arose some 200,000 years ago. They were uniquely good at making tools, telling stories, thinking abstractly, planning and working together in large groups beyond their close family. Still, there were not that many of us. Surpluses of food were scarce, survival was hard, life expectancy was low. It took us 150,000 years to grow to a population of 2 million. Improvements were gradual and eventually led to the agricultural revolution, arguably the biggest change in our history. This was when our numbers really started growing. It took 10,000 more years to get to 300 million. But that increase was dwarfed by the Industrial Revolution. In 1800, there were 1 billion of us. The human population doubled in just 120 years, and then again in 50. Today, we number around 8 billion. In total, over the last 200,000 years, about 117 billion humans were born and lived, and 109 billion also died.
But my question is, right, haven't we had more humans? Because they dated back something to like 40,000 years old. Oh, no, maybe it was like 400,000 years old. But it was like a hammer and a rock. Like, how do you just get a hammer and a rock and it's not made by humans? Was there another civilization before us? Oh, boy.
Means that about 7% of all humans that ever lived are alive right now. As many as were born in the first 150,000 years of human history. Every minute, 270 babies join the party.
Whoa, every minute?
But there aren't just more people. Never before have we been as healthy and well off or lived longer. With growing living standards, our birth rates collapsed. The UN estimates that around the year 2100, we will hit our population peak and there will be 125 million people born each year. It's pretty unlikely that birth rates will stay stable forever, but let's pretend to make our thought experiment simpler. How many people there will be in the future depends on when our species will die out. And here, we find a lot of uncertainties. We are able to destroy ourselves through our own inventions, but we are also able to find solutions to avert catastrophic risk. We can change the direction of planet-killer asteroids, but we've also invented nuclear weapons. We discovered antibiotics, but also carry diseases across the globe in a matter of days. Our industrial system gives us an incredible standard of living, but also changed the atmosphere in the process. It's very hard to say if human ingenuity will prolong or shorten our species' lifespan. If things go badly, our end could come suddenly. But if we manage to avoid that, we could conceivably stick around for a long time. So every day we don't destroy ourselves may mean life for an unfathomable number of humans. How many people are we talking about? It depends on how far our species is going to expand. Scenario 1. Humans will never leave Earth. If we stay on our home planet, a good metric to look at is the extinction rate of animals that we get from the fossil record. The average lifespan of mammalian species is in the region of 1 million years, with some surviving up to 10 million years. Our close relative Homo erectus survived for about 1.9 million years. Let's be conservative and assume that humans will survive for 1 million years, which leaves us 800,000 more years to dawdle away. Assuming a stable birth rate of 125 million people each year, this means there are roughly 100 trillion humans waiting to be born. 850 times greater than the number of people that have ever lived. This would make everybody alive today only 0.008% of all people that will ever live. Think about where this leaves you. Instead of putting you at the end of the chaotic mess that was our past, it would mean you live at the very beginning of something big. The start of the human story rather than the end. Doesn't this feel incredibly different?
That is so interesting to think about. We're not just floating around. We're not in the worst time frame. We're making the time frame. I mean, half of us are doing absolutely nothing. I'm going to be so for real. But at least we can say we were here is what he's trying to say. If that even means anything, honestly. Like, what? What? We don't even get to... We start it and we don't even get to recoup the benefits from it? Are you serious? That's what we're going with?
And now, consider that this may be an extremely pessimistic estimate. If we match the survival time of the most successful mammals, then our future numbers rise to 1.2 quadrillion people that have yet to be born. And even this seems far from our potential.
No.
As the sun slowly gets hotter and brighter, Earth will remain habitable for about 500 million years, giving so many more potential people the chance to become actual people. And now, let's begin to think big. Scenario 2. Humans will leave Earth. We went from humans worshipping the moon to humans walking on it, so who knows how much further we can go. If we don't die out within the next few hundred years, ideas that seem outlandish right now become serious considerations. If we believe that we have a chance of surviving for maybe millions of years, then we could expand onto the other planets or into our own artificial worlds. Life needs 3 things: a surface, resources, and energy. Our sun provides energy for billions of years, and there is so much water and material floating in the asteroid and Kuiper belt that we could sustain many times our current population. Instead of living on planets, we could decide to construct our own artificial worlds and habitats. With resources and energy so abundant, we could try out different types of society and ways of life. An interconnected civilization spanning the solar system would create the basis of existence for an absurd number of individuals, orders of magnitude more than if we stick to Earth, even if we only existed for a few million years. This future doesn't have to be grim and dark as science fiction likes to paint it. With quadrillions of people waiting to be born, we will have billions of doctors working on curing cancer, billions of problem solvers working on ending poverty, and billions of video game developers making life fun. More humans may actually mean more progress. Another upside of leaving Earth and spreading out is that it becomes much harder for us to become extinct, as you need a solar system-wide catastrophe to catch everybody. So aside from nearby supernovae or gamma-ray bursts, humanity would be relatively safe from extinction, maybe for billions of years. If we manage to survive for that long, slow evolution or genetic engineering might split us into multiple species, or we might intentionally keep ourselves the same as we are now. So to account for that, we'll just talk about people from now on.
Wait a minute. So if the Earth is however many billions and billions of years old already, couldn't this have technically already happened? And they're actually not aliens. They're all just from Earth. And then we're the next case of that to happen? Holy crapatoli. Did I just unlock the code? Think about that for a second. Think of how old the Earth is. It got wiped back down. It got absolutely torn after the dinosaurs. And then we come back. I mean, we might not look the same. We might not, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. We might not look the same. But that doesn't matter because they're still from Earth. So then technically, would they just be like a sister species to us? Oh my God. And obviously, I don't think they'll speak the same language, right? I don't think they would speak the same language. I don't think that was a thing back then. But there could be Earth civilizations out there today that we don't even know about. And they might not look like us. They might not sound like us. They might not even represent us. They might not look like anything. They might come back and they might be like, yo, you guys got trees and it's green and the sky's blue. Like, this was all lava before. That is insane to think about.
Humans. Okay, now let's think really big. Scenario 3, people leave the solar system. As enormous as the solar system is, it is just one star system among billions in the Milky Way. If future people can colonize, say, 100 billion stars and live there for 10 billion years, with each generating 100 million births per year, then we can expect something like 100 octillion lives to be lived in the future.
Oh my God,
this
we're
is a 1 with 29 zeros. 100,000 trillion.
Is that all at the same time? Is this... I don't think this is all at the same time, right? I don't know.
We can spin this up as much as we like. The Andromeda Galaxy will merge with the Milky Way, adding another trillion stars for us to settle. Red dwarfs stay active for up to 1 trillion years, and future civilizations might even find energy for their habitats around black holes. A sufficiently advanced civilization of our descendants might even try to reach other galaxy groups. While these numbers are mind-blowing, they may underestimate the number of unborn people by many orders of magnitude. If we divide the total energy available in a galaxy by the average energy needs of a single person, then we get 1 trillion potential lives. 1 million trillion potential people.
Bro,
Conclusion.
what?
Hopefully, what's become evident is that if we don't kill ourselves in the next few centuries or millennia, almost all humans that will ever exist will live in the future. Which brings us back to us in the present. We exist at a high point in human history, with incredible possibilities at our grasp: technological, environmental, and societal. What we do matters for all the people who do not exist yet. So while it's not en vogue to think about humanity's long-term future with optimism, or to think about it at all, maybe this has given you a bit of perspective. If we screw up the present, so many people may never come to exist. Quadrillions of unborn humans are at our mercy. Even if we go with fairly conservative estimates, the unborn are by far the largest group of people and the most disenfranchised. Somebody who might be born in 1,000 or even 1,000,000 years deeply depends on us today for their existence. This is why it's important to think about the distant future and why our presence is so crucial, why it matters what we do today. One day, the last human will be born. We don't know when. But if we change our perspective from us living at the end of the human story to us living at the very beginning, we can not only build a wonderful world for us and for them, but also for countless numbers of others.
Imagine, right? Imagine if the egg theory is real. Right? Remember the egg theory that we watched? If you haven't watched it, go check it out. But it is a crazy theory. But imagine if the egg theory is real and we are every single person and there is 100 quintillion people, right? Or however much, whatever the most he said was. Imagine that. Imagine if there was that many people out here and you were every single one of them. Imagine that. Guys, that sounds really cool and all if we just do that. We just got to stop doing what we're doing. If you think about it, we just gotta stop doing what we're doing. We gotta stop like fighting and stuff. Like that's all old news, anyways. Like there's no reason to be fighting anymore. Why not just further civilization? And then everybody's gonna be like, dude, we need to fight. We need to fight. But it is crazy to think that like there could be so much potentially, I guess you can say, like predictions for the future, like so much potential in that. But at the same time, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about it a long time ago. He said the amount of people that have been born and the amount of people that could have been born is so drastically different. So we could have had way more people born. It's just that just didn't happen. But it's still just crazy to think about. Like, I mean, even if everybody on Earth right now had 2 kids, that would be from 8 million to what, 16 million? That would double it. Or that'd be 1 kid would be doubling it if every single person had one. So 2 would be like, what, almost like 32 million? That's probably not right math. It might be like 24 million. But that's just crazy to think. Oh my God. And like, it's crazy to think, yeah, we're at the start of it, but also we're not going to see it. We're not going to see it, which also blows. It's like, why? Why aren't we going to see it? That's not fair. That's not fair. Bring us back. Put my head in Walt Disney thing. You know, what he put his head in the ice? I don't think he actually did that, but it was like a conspiracy for a while. It's such an interesting concept. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but come on. You want to see the future of society? It's okay. It's okay. You don't got to be worried. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Hey, yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and our brains are mysterious. That's right. Our brains are wild. Like, how are some people so smart, and how are some people so beyond the opposite of smart that it's unfathomable? Where does this come from? Where do these smarts come from? Is it genetic? Is it not genetic? I don't even know what the difference is. Maybe I'm not on the smart side, and it doesn't matter. That's left for me to say. But you know what? You know what? We're going to learn about that today. That's right. Today we are watching What is Intelligence? Where does it begin? It's time to lock in, and it's time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
Humans are proud of a lot of things, from particle accelerators to poetry to Pokemon. All of them made possible because of something humans value extremely highly: intelligence. We think of intelligence as a trait, like height or strength, but when we try to define it, things get fuzzy. In a nutshell, intelligence is a mechanism to solve problems, especially the problem of staying alive, which involves finding food and shelter, fighting sexual competitors, or fleeing from predators. Intelligence is not a single thing. It includes the ability to gather knowledge, to learn, be creative, form strategies, or engage in critical thinking. It manifests itself in a huge variety of behaviors, from hardwired or instinct-like reactions to different degrees of learning to some sort of awareness. But not all scientists agree where it begins or what even should count as intelligence. To make this even more complicated, intelligence is also connected to consciousness, since awareness is helpful for problem solving. But we're exploring consciousness in other videos, so today we'll leave it aside. Okay, intelligence isn't exactly clear-cut, so maybe we can think of it as more like a flexible set of skills, a toolbox. Basic tools. The most basic tools in the intelligence toolbox are the ability to gather information, to save it, and to use it to learn. Information about the world is gathered through senses such as vision, sound, smell, touch, or taste, and helps us navigate and react to the external world appropriately. But living things also need to keep track of the state of their own bodies, monitoring things like hunger and fatigue. Information is the basis of action for all living things, and without it, you're at the mercy of your surroundings, unable to react appropriately or flexibly. Information is much more powerful if we can keep and save it. So the second tool is memory. Memory is the ability to save and recall information so a living being doesn't have to start from scratch every time it perceives something relevant. Memories can be about events, places and associations, but also behaviors like hunting or foraging methods. Some of these, like flying, have to be repeated over and over until they're mastered. This is what we call learning, the process of putting together a sequence of thoughts or actions. Basically a string of repeatable behaviors that can be varied and adapted. These three tools enable seemingly stupid creatures to act in surprisingly intelligent ways. The acellular slime mold, which is basically just a single huge slimy cell, shows behavior similar to an animal with a simple brain. When put in a maze with food at one end, the slime mold explores its surroundings and marks its path with slime trails, sort of smearing memories on the ground. As it continues exploring, it avoids the marked pathways and finds its way to the food. Instead of blindly getting stuck in dead ends, the slime mold adapts its behavior to save time and effort. This behavior is hardwired, and scientists can't agree if that's intelligent, although it does give the...
Our brain is like a computer. For real, our brain is like a computer. You're telling us, like, I mean, memory is like a hard drive, right? Eyesight's like a GPU in a sense, right? Making that crystal clear. Brain in general is like a CPU. I mean, we really function like a computer at the end of the day. But, like, I feel like intelligence comes in so much different forms, because some people can be really good book smarts, some people can be really good street smarts, some people can do everything, get an A+, have a 9.0 GPA, and then when they're walking down the street, not know that they're about to get mugged. Like, I feel like intelligence is such a skewed concept in general.
Slime mold a certain advantage. Bees are an example of more adaptive smart behavior. Scientists trained bumblebees to move a colored ball into a goalpost for a sugar reward. Not only were the bees very skillful at this behavior, which isn't natural to them, they got more efficient over time. When several balls were available, bees chose the ball that lay closest to the goal, even if it was a different color than the ball they were trained with. For more challenging problems, we need even more flexibility. Fancier tools. Building on the basic tools, more complex animals have a wider range of problems they can solve. They can memorize all kinds of associations, connections, and mechanical tricks. We'll call this tool the Library of Knowledge. Take raccoons. Their favorite kind of food is human food. Their approach to getting hold of such treats depends upon an assortment of theoretical and practical skills that makes them master burglars.
Dude, raccoons are so dope. Have you ever seen raccoon videos? I know a lot of people actually like own raccoon as pets. Maybe not a lot of people, but I know a few people at least that do, that I've seen online. And they're like the cutest little things.
Or to open windows or pick locks. In a study, raccoons were given boxes secured with different kinds of locks, like latches, bolts, plugs, or push bars. They needed less than 10 attempts to figure out how to open each box, even when different locks were put together into increasingly difficult combinations that had to be solved in the right order and with different amounts of strength.
That's crazy.
A year later, the raccoons still remembered how to open the boxes and were as fast as when they had first solved the puzzle. Beyond our library of associations and skills, the most impressive tool in our box is creativity, a sort of mental duct tape. Being creative means producing something new and valuable from apparently unrelated things. In the context of intelligence, this means making new and unusual connections, pairing input with memories and skills to come up with a unique solution to a problem. In another raccoon study, researchers showed the animals that by dropping pebbles into a water tank, they could raise the water level enough to reach a marshmallow floating at the top. One raccoon came up with a much better solution. It tipped the tub over. Another facet of creativity is applying a new resource to a task, physical tools. Like primates that use sticks to fish for termites in trees, or some octopuses which assemble collected coconut shells around themselves as a sort of portable armor to hide from enemies. Collecting materials for later use is connected to an even more advanced dimension of problem solving, planning. Planning means considering the activities required for a desired goal and putting them together in a plan. When unforeseen circumstances and new possibilities present themselves, they need to be assessed according to whether they match the plan or not.
It's like when squirrels get acorns for the hibernation time. They're like, oh, it's going to get cold out here. Let's stock up on some acornage. I mean, squirrels are geniuses. If anybody's ever seen that Mark Rober video with all the squirrels, it's a fire video. But, like, they're smart, and they overcome obstacles very quick. I mean, at least in the video it looked quick, but in reality, I mean, still, it's like they overcame that stuff extremely well.
An example of this intelligent behavior is hoarding food to eat it later. This is an instinctive behavior in squirrels. But even though hiding food comes instinctively to them, they still need to use advanced thinking skills to make the best decisions.
I just said that.
Squirrels examine every nut and weigh the time and effort it would take to hide it against the benefits they would get from each one.
I didn't know all
Damaged
that, but...
or low-fat nuts are eaten right away, while nuts that still need to ripen go on the stockpile. Squirrels also pretend to bury nuts when they feel watched. These empty caches distract rivals from their real treasure. This is pretty advanced strategizing because to make a plan to distract someone else, you first have to be aware that there are others like you that want the same things.
True.
The more complex the problem, the more tools are needed in combination to solve it. So the more tools there are, the more flexibility a being has to solve the challenges life throws at them. But even for complex problems, each animal's individual situation is what counts. Squirrels are omnivores that defend their territories fiercely. For them, it makes sense to remember where there's food in different locations and trick their enemies to improve their chances of survival. Sheep don't have any such refined tricks up their sleeve, but they don't need to. They are grazers and live in flocks. The skills relevant to them are social. They recognize and remember many different sheep and even humans for years, a completely different skill. Evolving and retaining a complex set of mental abilities they might never use would be a waste of resources for them. Humans went the opposite way and invested in an unusually diverse intelligence toolkit. While this was helpful, by accident we added another set of tools on top: culture. No single person could ever build a space rocket or particle accelerator. But thanks to our ability to work together and to share knowledge across generations, we can overcome challenges beyond any single individual's ability.
Tony Stark could do it. All I'm going to say is, like, you know, everybody talks about this Nikola Tesla guy. I kind of know who he is. I haven't really done, like, so much research in him. But that guy seems like he could. He was doing some bananas. He was doing some absolutely crazy stuff. And I mean, he was one guy.
This allowed us to shape the planet to our liking. We also created new problems in the process: Sudoku, tax forms, string theory, but also rapid climate change and antibiotic resistance. To solve these, we'll need to look past short-term survival and think about the distant future. We have the toolbox. We just need to use it. Speaking of tools for learning,
it is insane to think about. It's just advertisement after that. It's insane to think about how far, like, the human brain has gone. But, like, even just thinking about, like, little, like, animal brains and little insect brains, like, they work. They work in a complete different way from us, but they work. And it's like you never understand that. Just like they look at you and they never understand you. Like, they just see you as a threat, and sometimes you see them as a threat. Like a spider? Nah, dude. Nah, screw that. Also, it's like, how does all that little... How are they that small? I don't understand that either. Maybe I'm not the smartest, right? But I'm not willing to not be. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I could be the smartest. Maybe I don't know. My camera just... All right, my camera memory looks like it's dead. Looks like it got filled up. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, come on, you trying to get smart out here? That's what I thought. So if you want to get smart, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.